Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports. When
It comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
TexAgs Live.
I feel like I should be listening to the theme song from the Jeffersons. You know, we're moving on up.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
He is a guy that has gotten better and better and better. He's just got that dog in him.
It's been special. The 12th man this past week was unbelievable.
And this is a real program. It's not fake. This is a real place. And if you want to be really good at football, this is a really good place to be.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
Buchanan.
Nuño.
Yesterday's game, A&M wins, by the way, against Oklahoma. I never felt they were going to lose the game. It did feel kind of like a grind, though.
It was absolutely a grind.
I mean, but I felt comfortable they were going to win. There wasn't a point where I was like, you know what, they're going to lose this game, or they could lose this. I mean, of course they could. It was a close game at times. I mean, the whole game was a few possessions away. But I figured that defense, the rebounding, Anderson Garcia was great yesterday. There's a lot of really nice performances. I believe you had 5 players in double figures and 1 knocking on the door. Anderson had 9, but he had a point away from being a double-double. I never felt worried, but it was certainly almost kind of like walking in sand where it kind of takes you a little bit longer. That's what it felt like.
Well, I was worried.
Yeah?
Yeah, you know, they pulled within 2.
A couple times.
With just 4 minutes to go, 4:14. And after A&M had been up 8, and I'm thinking, are they going to make the plays down the stretch? But they did. And you know what they did? They made the free throw. That may be the most surprising part of the whole game.
Yeah, they were excellent from the free throw line. Look, I don't expect them to hit at that clip because that's not who they are. But again, we've said for a couple weeks now, I think it's been a couple weeks, if you get in the upper 60s, 70s, right, like because of the amount of times you go to the line and because of the offensive opportunities you get because of the offensive rebounds, you're going to win these games, right? And they went well above that.
Yeah, 83%, I think it was. They made 29 of 35. You score 29 points at the free throw line, you're probably going to win. And what they did by doing that is they really compensated for their issues from the three-point line.
You can go through all the players and be like, all right, that guy had a significant impact on the game, right? Significant impact on the game, Manny Obaseki.
Absolutely.
I thought he was excellent. Pharrell Payne, significant impact in the game. Zurich Phelps, significant impact.
Well, he's leading scorer with 15 points.
Wade Taylor, who offensively still hasn't found his groove yet, contributed 3 steals, got his double figures, and as you mentioned before the show started, hit that big 3 close to the end.
It was a 3-point play. He had a 3-pointer. Wade was all right. I've seen him be a lot better. Had some turnovers that inbounding the ball that he normally. I mean, you just don't see that.
Was that Wade who threw the inbound that led to the quick 2? No, it wasn't Wade. Well, it was Wade.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but I don't know that anybody played great, but everybody played pretty good.
They were good. Yeah.
And, they were doing it without Solomon Washington or Hayden Hefner playing, so you had a short bench. It was really a quite amazing performance when you consider that you had more offensive rebounds than Oklahoma had rebounds.
Yeah.
They had like 47 rebounds, and I think it was 26 were on the offensive side.
Yeah.
Right? And then you made, like I said, 29 of 35 free throws.
Yep.
And you look at those 2 numbers, you think it's an absolute blowout.
When did Seth Curry change his name to Goodine?
That guy can. He only does it against A&M.
That's it.
I think Porter Moser figured out the best way to attack A&M's defense.
Yeah.
And what A&M wants you to do and shoot the free threes on defense, he just finds a guy that can make that open three-point shot,
Right.
and it's good on. Because I was looking at the rest of the year, I think his season high when he's not playing A&M is 12, and more often than not, he's not even in double figures. But he has 58 points in 2 games against A&M.
So I think this is a big part of the game, and we've seen this in both games. Jeremiah Fears, 0 points.
0 points.
We didn't see that last game, but he was certainly limited last game. But I mean, he only played 16 minutes because I'm thinking they just didn't think he was effective.
Well, he wasn't.
Yeah.
And then I was really shocked when he missed those 2 free throws late. They were still hanging in there, and then he missed 2 late free throws that, I think it kind of really ended their chance.
Yeah.
I'd have to go back and look at the time, but I remember he missed 2 free throws. It was really, really a big moment in the game.
Yeah, no doubt about that. We mentioned the free throw percentage. Let's listen to Buzz yesterday, because here's something that this team has been a part of, and we just saw it in the last week 3 times. But this was their 10th 1 or 2 possession game of the season out of 21 games. Here's Buzz talking about these close games.
Sure. Yeah, I think we've had so many reps. That was our 10th rep of playing in a 1 or 2 possession game out of our 21 games, and I think our guys are very accepting of the thin margin that this league has turned into, and the preparation that we had in November and December. And it's not always going to have the appropriate result. We failed on Saturday. We're disappointed in ourselves. I for sure need to do a better job. But 4 days before and multiple other times, I think we've done good. And so we're thankful for how it transpired tonight for sure.
Look, they're good in close games. Obviously, recent history, we'll look at the Saturday game, and we can look at the Ole Miss game, and we can look at last night. 2 of those 3 games they won in a close game. But close-ish game, I should say. That being said, I think when they're doing the little things, that's how they win those games, right? Like, and to us, the little things are like, for example, there was a rebound yesterday. A&M was leading. It was in the last couple minutes of the game. And Anderson Garcia ran across the court like a 40-yard dash, got the ball, gave them the possession. It was an empty possession because they weren't able to get points on it because I think they missed the next shot. That being said, it gave them, 40 seconds of the shot clock or of the game clock.
Anderson came in and deflected the ball out of bounds. And
there was one that he got the rebound, and he
had a lot of good heads-up plays. And Wade had one. I cannot remember who the big was. I don't know if it was Anderson or Farrell. And I think it was number 1 has the ball on the baseline.
Yeah.
Remember they went to video, and Wade came over and slapped it out.
He's pointing like it went out, yeah.
And
he knew.
They went and looked at it, and that was a big part of the game.
Shout out to the crowd, because the crowd made a lot of noise too in that, and I think that and Wade all kind of played into,
and
hey,
so
we
they
need to
looked
look
at it. I guess you were right.
Yeah. and it was actually, when I saw the replay, I knew Wade was correct, but I thought it was kind of a close angle to where I could see them saying it's not conclusive. I thought it was conclusive, but I have maroon goggles on.
And what's funny is, I've got the stat broadcast thing, and so they update it right at the table. So, everybody's
you knew before.
Are they gonna reverse it? And I'm like, hey, they reversed it. Look, they reversed it. Of course, they hadn't reversed it yet.
You and Luke got a lot of screen time yesterday.
Did we?
I saw you a couple
of
times.
Where we sit, it's conducive to that. Yeah. It's not very conducive to seeing the game action on the other end.
Sure.
When the visiting opponent stands up.
Yeah.
Because then you're watching the game on the jumbotron or the scoreboard. But yeah, it is conducive for that.
So Buzz mentioned yesterday, I guess 40 minutes before the game, something happened with Hefner.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that was. I don't think we know, but 2 guys that you rely on quite often, Solo and Hef, weren't able to play.
Yeah, because I would have loved to have seen Hefner out there. One of his replacements really, I'm not going to say who, but struggled mightily.
Yeah.
And struggling is putting it nice. And of course, Solo, he must be really hurt because, again, I think if he was just...
Is that a boot? I guess that's what it looked like.
If he's just a little bit hurt, I think he's so tough he'd go out there. So, and they could have used him. But Henry Coleman stepped up big in that role.
And hit those free throws at the end.
Hit a lot of free throws.
Yeah.
So, well, that's what you get. You know, I think the greatest strength of this A&M basketball team is just its depth.
Yeah. And depth that you can count on, right? Like, you know that guys who sometimes are starters, sometimes they're not, you know they're going to have that game where you're like, oh my God. Like Hef, even last year where Hef, I think was largely ineffective, he had those moments you're like, he's contributing to a win.
I think that you can go back and there's always like the second guy, and sometimes it's the first guy. But there's somebody that goes that has a really strong game that maybe doesn't always do it, and it's almost like you can place your bets before the game. Who's it going to be?
Yeah.
Because it's not. Oh well, you know it's going to be this guy's going to do it.
Yeah.
You know, one day it might be Pharrell Payne that goes out. Next day it might be Anderson Garcia that has a big game. It might be Henry Coleman, and on and on.
Yep, I agree. This next point I'm going to bring up, it's not a big deal. It's just a thought. Wade Taylor had 12 yesterday, 10 games left to score 156 points. Luke was doing the math on there. By the way, that's not hard math to figure out to get to where he needs to get up on the list. But 10 regular season games. So basically, he's got to average almost 16 points a game to get to the total for the all-time leading score for A&M history. So he's.
But his points in the postseason count.
They do. I'm saying regular season.
But you want to do it in the regular season?
I'm just saying regular season-wise.
Yeah, I think he'll do it. Because I've seen there'll be a game, I'd be surprised there's not one where he doesn't go off for 30 points. And to ask.
So you think in the last 10 games, because I think on the year, Nick, if you can fact check me, is he averaging just a little over 12 on the year? Maybe I'm wrong.
Probably closer to 14.
Sorry, in SEC play, I believe he's 12. But 16 points a game, certainly doable for him.
And you know what? I said he can go out and score 30 points. I don't think he will ever go out looking to score 30 to get that record.
14.5 on the year, and I believe in SEC play around 12.
I don't think he will go out trying to score a lot to get the record.
Yeah.
But I think that there's going to be games where they need him or he's just going to be on, because I've just seen it too many times.
Right.
And I wouldn't bet against him.
And the reason I bring up the 10 regular season games is because you're not guaranteed more than 2 games in the postseason.
Okay.
Right? So basically you have 12 games to play with to get that record, minimum.
I would.
Because I think they're a sure bet for both tournaments. Well, SEC tournament, obviously, and the NCAA tournament. I would
do like Jack Moss and say, if we're going to bet on anybody, I'm going to bet on the Aggies. If I was going to bet on anybody, I'd bet on Wade Taylor.
Yeah, heck yeah. And again, on this team, this year, the way they're constructed, he doesn't have to carry the load, which I think may allow him to carry the load in the postseason.
It is interesting how, I mean, we know how good he is. We've seen back-to-back teams, because Oklahoma was trying to do it too, that just try to focus the focus of their defense is to try to neutralize Wade to some degree, and even try to just keep him getting the ball.
OB, you and I, we seem a bit. What's the word I'm looking here? Like we're, I don't want to say quiet. We're not overly excited. I think we're both like, I don't know. We're just chill. Like we had some greenie, or what are they called? I don't know, some stuff before the show.
All I know is I didn't get home. I didn't leave Reed Arena until after midnight, and then
and you wake up at 4.
And an old guy. That's a Buzz talks about a quick turnaround. Yeah, that's a quick turnaround for this old man.
Yeah, it is a quick turnaround. I think it's a quick turnaround for our audience. That that game was over. What, 10:45 maybe 10:30? It was earlier than that. 10:30 probably.
Probably around 10:30, maybe even a little later than that.
Yeah.
They had a couple of delays, or not one. Again, that video review on the way
that took a few minutes.
Took a lot longer than it should have.
Yep. Hey, if you want to be a part of the conversation this morning, you can do it multiple ways. 979-693-1150. That is the Boss Firearms Hotline. Give us a shout on that number. And the name of the show, by the way, it is TexAgs Live.
It is TexAgs Live.
Yeah. Thank you for that. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers.
We are.
We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio.
Yes, thank you, Jason.
Yeah, he's great. Jackson, great too. The whole group.
All those Rollos.
And this hour, we actually have named an hour.
Yeah, it's the Go Hour.
The Go Hour.
Yeah, brought by CC Creation.
Yeah, the warehouse of CC Creations. And we've also named a particular area of the studio because that's what we do here,
Yeah, it's the holistic planning cool zone.
where they can help you invest in many things like investing in pro sports, but investment, tax, and estate. What team would you buy tomorrow?
What team would I buy tomorrow? Professional team? Barcelona.
I knew you were going to do it 3 days in a row.
I couldn't think of anything else.
Can you name one player on Barcelona?
No.
I didn't think so. Neither can I because I don't pay attention.
My niece Addison could.
Yeah. Let's say hi to Nick Savage.
I know about Mbappe, though.
He's
dropped
good.
50 bands on him. I don't even know what that means.
Mbappe's he's pretty good. All right, Nick Savage.
Do you know
what's
what
up?
50 bands means? Dropping 50
50
bands.
mil?
Bands.
I don't know.
I don't know.
It's like Pearl Jam and like
I don't think
that's
that-
what.
Well,
it is.
there's bands, there's stacks, there's racks. They all equate to something. I can't tell you what they are either.
Like
OB,
money
but
banded together? Like,
yeah.
Okay.
Like like 15 years ago, it was cool to say "Make It Rain," right?
Yeah.
Well, they banned it. Band of Brothers.
You can't make it rain anymore?
I think you can, but people will you can hurt people.
Yeah.
Nick, what else do you have for us? Or what do you have for us?
Well, just one quick number to watch out for. A&M is 10-1 at Reed Arena this season. That one loss coming to Alabama. So they're doing a great job of defending the home court, and take advantage of the team coming to you. Right, you're at home. You got the crowd behind you. The 12th man. They do a great job of lifting up the team, and Wade said as much. They feed off the energy from the crowd. So again, 10-1 at Reed Arena. Hopefully that trend continues for them.
Yeah, Trev Alberts has got to be loving the crowds that are coming to Reed Arena.
With 9,500 last night, roughly.
Yeah. And that's almost a disappointment now.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many times I've seen games at Reed Arena where
377 people.
well, especially in December, but sometimes 4,000. You're thinking, where are they hiding?
There's a couple reasons for that, in my opinion. This is a basketball team that has been together for a few years, so people know them and they want to see them. They know how good they are. And look, they've had a really good basketball program in the 2000s, right? There's been a reason to go for the most part the last 25 years, or 20 years.
I think basketball, and I don't mean this that bad, but I think basketball is the ultimate bandwagon sport at A&M. It's like, hey, you show us you're good and we'll come. Unlike football, they're going to come. Baseball, they're going to come. In basketball, like, look, it's wintertime. It's inside. Show us you're good, and we'll show up.
Yeah, and there's also a lot of opportunities to come to watch them.
But hey, Aggies. I'm speaking mainly to the Reed Rowdies, which I think is great that you have fans trying to be right. But learn the game if you're going to taunt the opposition. Like when you're calling for free throws when they get a foul on a charge, because that's you
know the game.
Yeah, know the game.
Know the game. All right, let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Kaylee Dreyer is there. Kaylee, good morning.
Good morning. How are y'all?
We're okay.
Tired.
Tired?
Me too.
Oh,
Long
really?
night.
Why are you so tired?
Watching the game.
Oh, okay.
So before this job, would you go to bed early anyway, or because of this job, do you go to bed early?
Do college kids ever go to bed early?
Yeah, no.
I didn't think so.
What time did you go to bed?
1.
Did you go out after the game?
No.
Okay, you were just
did my work.
Just doing your look.
See, I could do that when I was younger too. In fact, I could do even.
You did it last night. What are you talking about?
I still do it, but I feel like I'm really tired.
Have you had a Monster Energy?
No, I haven't. And she looks spry.
She looks good.
Yeah.
Well, you've had coffee this morning?
No. Starbucks.
Starbucks. There you go. Which means coffee?
Is that not coffee?
What does it mean?
Refresher.
What does that mean?
Just like fruity.
So there's no caffeine in that?
No.
It's just a drink you spent money on because it's fruity.
Yep.
I've never in my life done that.
I didn't know they had that at Starbucks.
Hey, let's have a fruity drink.
I saw a lot of fruity people at Starbucks, but I've never had a fruity drink.
I like when people in the back laugh that we can hear them in here when you drop an OBism. Kaylee, do you have anything to report this morning?
Yes. So when we're looking at the first half of the Aggies versus OU, they were 16 for 20 in free throws, 1 for 13 in 3-point shots, and 7 for 26 in field goal shots.
Remind me of the 3-point. What was it? 1 of 13.
1 of 13.
1 of 13.
How did they finish?
And the one was Anderson Garcia because there was like 3 seconds left on the shot clock, and he's looking to pass.
Yeah.
And nobody's open, so he just says, "I have to take it," and it was just boom, bottom of the net.
He is good for those. Like, no, okay, there you go.
Well, again, he didn't have much choice. If he doesn't take it, it's going to be a turnover for shot
Right.
clock. So he takes it and he just rips it.
He does.
Good job, Anderson Garcia.
They finished 4 of 24 from 3.
Oh, so they hit 3 more in the second half. That's
Yeah, they tripled their production in the second half.
But how many did they miss in the second half?
Well, if they had, she said 4, so 11. They took 11,
Mm-hmm.
so they would have missed 8.
But
that's that White Oak High School education.
You're good at math. It didn't feel like, and maybe I'm wrong because they were leading, it didn't feel like they were taking as many ill-advised threes yesterday.
No, in fact, they were taking a lot of them. They were open.
Yeah.
They just weren't making them.
The threes that they took yesterday, I was not, for the most part, I was not like, oh, why are we taking that? Like, again, I have my hesitation of taking as many threes as they do, but they're so good at rebounding. I get it. It's the ill-advised ones, and I was not upset yesterday.
Well, because they were going to get the rebound. It was crazy how good they were on the offense.
47 rebounds to 19. Is that right? 47 to 19?
47 to 21. Maybe it was 19.
Oh, you had 19 according to my notes
19 defensive rebounds.
Oh, was it defensive?
And
Okay.
They only had, you had two those offensive rebounds the whole game.
That's not good.
And so A&M scored 20 points second chance.
It almost feels like the game should have not been as close.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If you look at those numbers, it should have been a blowout. But let's not bring up turnovers and how many points OU scored off of turnovers.
Yeah. But the turnover, they significantly shrunk the deficit in the second half. They did a much better job. But how many 3-point shots did OU hit yesterday? 9, was it?
9 or 10. I think
it was
10.
9.
It was 10.
10? Okay,
Yep.
so 30 points off of, I mean, that's to me why it was closer.
Yeah, well, but again, they had 15 points off turnovers. And, that'll keep you in the game.
Absolutely. Kaylee, one more thing. Unless you don't want to. I saw a little hesitation.
No. So as you guys have been talking about, some notable players from last night was Pharrell Payne, who had a double-double with 10 points and 11 rebounds.
What, he missed one shot all game?
And I think so.
We're going to talk Pharrell in the next segment because, again, I think I've brought it up like 16 shows in a row. I love him being an option offensively. He is somebody that I feel like most teams that play against A&M don't have an answer for.
All right.
Yeah,
that's true. Who else?
Anderson Garcia was 1 point away from a double-double.
12 and 9.
And Zurich Phelps led the team with 15 points, and Henry Coleman wasn't far behind with 14. And then to add to that, all 5 of our starting players had double-digit points.
Excellent stuff there, Kaylee. Appreciate that. I think, you think Buzz will take a day off today? Or do you think he's working?
Yeah, I think he's going to take a day off. I think they're all going to take a day off.
Take a day off and then go get some lunch maybe. I would suggest to go to 1770. That's what my suggestion would be.
Well, then they should work today and take tomorrow.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, we got to put this. Today's Wednesday.
It's
not
Wednesday.
Thursday. Yeah.
But yeah, you know what? That's how I would reward them for that big win and say, you know what? You've earned it. So here's what we're going to do. We're all going to get in the bus. We're going to head towards Snook. Don't have to go all the way.
Yeah.
There on the left. There's going to be 1775 barbecue. Because if you've earned a reward, I can't think of a much better reward than going and getting that 1775.
1775. It's so delicious.
It is
so
delicious. It's Larapin.
Look, if they opened up a side franchise like a macaroni place, I'd be the first one there.
Okay.
Queso mac and cheese there.
1775 queso mac and cheese to go.
Yeah, it's just like a store. Like that's what they give you. Like, you know what?
Maybe they should just start marketing, just producing that and selling it in the store.
They could do that.
Grocery store.
Open Thursday through Saturday. Thanks for the reminder that today's Wednesday, 11 a.m. until they're sold out. Online ordering turns off at 10 a.m. 979-492-6241. The website, 1775txbbq.com.
What's up, TexAgs? This commercial break is brought to you by my good friends over at Aggieland Chevrolet, the official automotive sponsor of TexAgs.com and me, Billy Lucci. Greg Gunn is the proud owner of Aggieland Chevrolet and invites you to visit the dealership to experience true Aggie hospitality. From their friendly staff to the experienced service team, Aggieland Chevrolet is TexAgs approved. Check out the dealership off of Highway 6 in Bryan or go to AggielandChevrolet.com and tell them Billy Lucci sent you by.
All right, so it had been a couple of games, or a little stretch, where Anderson Garcia was quiet for the standards that we're used to seeing. And I think there's reasons for that. Solo's emergence, Pharrell Payne's emergence, and he just wasn't kind of affecting the game the way we're used to. By the way, it's TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. But yesterday, he was fantastic, right? I mean, he always provides a play or two where you're like, he's just a smart basketball player.
In some ways, let me say this again. In some ways, he reminds me of Alex Caruso.
Mm-hmm.
He anticipates a play so well, like Alex did. Alex got a lot of steals. I think he may be the all-time leader in steals here. And I see that ability in Anderson, that he'll anticipate a play. He sees it developing and knows where this pass is going before the guy throws it, and he comes in and either deflects it out of bounds or gets a steal. He's just man, he's been such a great addition for the last 3 seasons.
He has.
He's such a good player for them.
Let's listen to Buzz talk about him.
I guess we're so lucky that Rodney Terry didn't want him.
Yeah. Are you more? Well, I don't want to get into that topic, but I do want to get it. No, I don't want to get into it. I just want to say I lost a little bit. Not that I knew Rodney Terry, but I don't like his antics after the game. I'll just leave it at that. We don't need to make it a whole topic. I didn't think it was a good look.
I agree.
All right. Let's listen to Buzz yesterday talking about Anderson Garcia. I believe the second question of the press conference, they didn't talk about somebody else. They started off with, you had the first question. That was you.
Yeah.
And then the question about Anderson Garcia.
It's just so unbelievable. Statistically, after 7 SEC games, I think he was averaging 3.3 points, maybe slightly more than that, but under 4 rebounds. And, I just mentioned on radio, I understand 4's stat line, but there's something about, regardless of if he's doing superlative things, there's some level of intangible piece when he plays to our team. And I think our players would say the same thing about Andy. Just does things when the ball is on the ground that you're like, yeah, that's perfect. And then he does things when the ball is in the air that he just impacts winning in a way that statistically it doesn't speak to. But as you know, like analytically, he's our second best player. And that's so hard to overcome when your stats are as minimal as his is. But those analytics, that's why it's good intel, is does he impact winning? And when you look at our groupings and how we try to play, specific to tonight's obviously obscure because 2 guys didn't play, but I've never seen anything like it in my career.
Does he impact winning? And the answer is yes.
It's hell yes.
It's a hell yes. And I think we kind of touched on it earlier in the first segment. A&M has a lot of players that if you just look at their stat line, you don't see how they impact winning. But they do impact winning. Sometimes it's not a stat. It's just a hustle play that leads to a tip that somebody else gets the rebound, right? Like there's many things that, like Henry Coleman, there are times his stat line isn't great, right? But he impacts the game. And I think Anderson Garcia, when he's, obviously last night is a phenomenal game, but even on the games that he has 4 and 6, I think he does impact winning.
Yeah, hey, if some guy on your other team is driving or shooting the ball or something, and you're able to get over and cut him off,
yep,
and force the ball out of his hands. It doesn't show up on a stat sheet, but that's important.
And we'll close the segment with this stat. And we talked about it at the top of the show, but I think it is, for all that we have made, and I've been one of them, have made a lot about the bad free throw shooting, you've got to give them their props for shooting just about 83% from the free throw line and going to the line as much as they did. They went to the line 35 times, right? So, that's more than a good team should do, right? That
was amazing. I mean, 80
for a team that goes to the line that many times.
I will take 75% and celebrate it.
Yes.
And they shot 83%. And they did it while getting to the line 35 times. Contrast that to their previous game when it had 3 of 8.
Right.
And, it speaks to me as a team that understands what they've been, where they've been deficient and has, worked hard at it to turn that around. And they turned around for that game. Maybe they will for the rest of the year.
Where they've been deficient, and also the last couple of games, I forget how many in a row, they weren't getting to the line as many times.
Mm-hmm.
And they were able, in the first half, they got to the line 20 times.
Yeah.
It's a great step. All right, we'll hit a break. We'll come back. Football, OB.
Football and more football.
Yeah, we're going to talk some football on the other side. We'll talk some A&M football. You okay with that
My
idea?
favorite.
Is that your favorite
subject,
topic?
My favorite topic.
Yeah. Right now, the difference is real with Rollo Insurance. They're an independent insurance company built around educating you on exactly what you're paying for, doing the shopping for you so that you can accomplish all of your insurance goals. And they can write any form of insurance to anybody. They've got 60 offices in the great state of Texas. Their headquarters, obviously, here in College Station. They're a big part of the community. And if you've been on vacation and a neighbor calls you that a major storm happens and you've got some major issues at your house, what is exactly going to happen next? Well, don't gamble on your future and don't gamble with all your property, right? You need to reach out to your insurance agent. And if you have a personal connection with that insurance agent, they're going to be able to take care of you at the moment. That's what Rollo Insurance does. Go to rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs. Start a conversation with your own personal insurance agent today. You've got questions, they've got answers. It's rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs, 888-44-ROLLO, or rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs. And we're back here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. The Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. Look behind you, Obi. Look at that guy.
That's Trey Zuhn.
Huh. What did we find out about him on TexAgs.com, by the way, because our Allie Russell talked to him. I think we knew it was coming, but it was nice to get an official confirmation.
Officially going to return for another season.
Love that.
So that left tackle spot is in good hands.
Look, I have a lot of questions about this football team next season. Okay. I have. Right? I have concerns. I have some areas I'm really excited about, but I don't know what level of team they are today. What I do know is offensive lines that have years together seem to be the backbone of a championship style team, right? Like if you're going to win in the SEC, you need to not only have a good offensive line. I like having a veteran laced offensive line, and he adds to that.
Well, you're going to have that with him, and Reed Adams in his second year here. Demetrius Crownover's going to be a second year starter, but he's been here for a while. Of course, Chase Basantes now, and quite frankly, if he has his health, Mark Naboo, I think, is going to make him better at center.
Yeah. I
think offensive line will be an area of strength.
It will be an area of strength, and I think the running game will be an area of strength.
Yeah, you put Le'Veon Moss behind an effective offensive line. I think your running game will be an area of strength, as well as Reuben Owens and Amari Daniels. And then give them some speedy receivers to make your defense have to respect that and maybe drop their safeties back a little more, and you'll even have more room for your running backs.
Yeah. So offense, and I don't know if they're going to have an explosive per se offense, right? I don't know if that's the identity of A&M. I don't know. I mean, we'll see, right?
I think they will.
You think they'll be explosive?
Yeah.
Explosive plays?
I do.
But I still think their identity is smash mouth. I'm going to give the ball to Le'Veon Moss and get me my 6-7 yards, and I'm just going to chip away at it with the ability to have explosive plays.
Yeah. Well, I don't think being an explosive offense necessarily means that, you're averaging 10 yards a play, and, everything doesn't have to be like A&M in 2012 to be explosive.
2020.
No, I meant 2012.
You did.
Yeah, with Johnny and Swope, and it seemed like every time they had the ball.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Gotcha.
But if you have that ability and you make some explosive plays through the game, I think the best situation you have is you have this explosive passing game or whatever that you have both, and you have a team that can run. I remember, here we go, because this is all I got anymore with the Cowboys, just memories. But I can remember when they were very explosive with Aikman and Irvin and Alvin Harper and even Jay Novacek at tight end, they could score from any. But when the game had to be won in the fourth quarter, they just turned around and ran the ball at you. And I think potentially that's what you could have with A&M, because I'm telling you, I'm really high on and have great expectations for what Marcel Reed's going to be in his first full year as a starter going into a season.
And wasn't he pretty good at his first year?
I thought he was. It's funny. I'd have to look at the numbers because I got to admit I don't know them, and I could be way off. But there's so much hype I've already been hearing about, and deservedly so, about DJ Lagway and what he's going to be at Florida. And again, his numbers may blow away Marcel's, but off the top of my head, I would think that they're very similar.
I'm looking at Lagway's numbers. Just under 2,000 yards passing, 1,915, 12 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, a 57.9 QBR. Trying to find his rushing numbers on the year. This is not popping up for me right here. Let's see if I can get it right here. Rushing numbers on the year, it looks like 101 rushing yards.
Okay.
All right?
So you said about 1,900 yards?
Yep. And that's what Marcel had.
Marcel threw for 1,864 with 15 touchdowns.
6 interceptions.
6 interceptions. So a lot of similarities there. And running.
Marcel was more.
Marcel rushed for 543 yards. What did you say about DJ?
101. So
I completely get all the hype for DJ Lagway?
He's really good.
He's really good.
And he won some big games.
I thought Marcel is – I'm really looking forward to him going into an off season, knowing he's the guy, and maybe have an off season where Colin Klein is saying, okay, we're going to shake up this offense a little bit, and we're going to tailor it to what a big part of it, to what Marcel, not only what he does, but what he does best.
The reason there's so much hype and optimism for DJ Lagway, because he had a high star ranking, he was excellent, but they won their last 4 games and 5 of 6 games. Now, you flip that to what A&M did at the end of the season, and you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not Marcel's fault that A&M lost those games, but the feeling around let's just say A&M had won 5 of their last 6 games. I think there'd be a lot more talk about Marcel than there is right now.
Yeah, and I don't care that there's not a lot of talk about him. Again, I'm not taking anything away from DJ Lagway. We both agree. All the I don't want to even call it all the praise that is deserving. The guy's he's a budding star. I just think that Marcel Reed is too.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Let's move on a little bit. Have you heard Shamar Stewart getting some love? I know you saw the Shamar Turner news yesterday. I think it was Ian Rappaport that said he's going to have to shut it down at the Senior Bowl.
Right. I keep hearing that Shamar Stewart is maybe a top 50 pick.
Yeah, and he thinks he should be a top 50 pick. We'll hear from him in a second, but I want you to watch some video from the Senior Bowl yesterday. There he is, and just bulldozing. Like, he looked.
I wonder who that poor guy was.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing with Shamar,
helmet.
What would you say?
The Kansas helmet, OB. So
Kansas?
whoever that may be.
Okay, well, that's why you're at Kansas.
Hey, we picked up a really nice player from Kansas.
I know, and that's why he's not at Kansas.
Yeah, that's right. He's here, and
and God love him for it.
Yeah, but I would say Shamar Stewart's biggest question mark is showing up, not physically, but sometimes in like stats wise, right? Like,
right.
I would say because you look at him and you see his speed and his power and his personality. He is a Greek god, right?
Right. The way, if you envision what you wanted a dominant defensive end to look like,
he looks like him.
It's but 1.5 sacks. He's a guy. Now, sacks isn't always the best thing. You know, maybe you, as you know, as we all know, you influence the pass that gets intercepted or whatever.
100%. Right.
But and he made, and you know what? He actually played, I would say, pretty well against the run.
Yeah.
And we forget that that's an important part of it too. But Shamar Stewart, as fast as he is and all those things, he's always like, or so often was like one step away.
One step away. Yeah. And sometimes you just need, I don't know, maybe you need a different environment. Maybe you need to be at the pro level for that to come out of you. I want you to hear from Shamar Stewart because it's a very short soundbite that NFL.com posted on their Twitter yesterday, asking him what level of player he is. Here's Shamar yesterday.
How high would you take you if you were a GM?
If I was a GM, I would take me with the highest pick you got. You don't want to miss this.
How high?
You don't want to miss this.
Look, I like the kid a lot.
I love
and
the
I
kid,
wish he'd come back for another year.
But if he's a top 50 pick, go do it, buddy.
Of course you do.
Yeah.
But I would have liked to have seen, quite frankly, more sack numbers from him.
I would too. Yeah.
But maybe it's just because I was greedy and self-serving.
Yeah. All right, we'll hit a break here. We'll come back with the final few minutes here on the Go Hour. Then we'll talk to John Harris. We'll talk to Pat Henry. We'll talk to Tom Schuberth. We'll talk to Ryan Brauninger. Yeah, it is recruiting country. We'll talk some baseball with him as well. And then Pounding the Pebble with Luke Evangelist. Tap Bents will be back. He's just as busy the last couple of weeks. We'll have Tap on here soon enough. Moment right now for Caldwell Country Chevrolet, Highway 21 in Caldwell. Online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. A nice selection of commercial vehicles with service body trucks, flatbed trucks, several medium-duty trucks for those heavier jobs. They are locally owned and operated by Aggie alumni. Complimentary pickup and delivery for their service customers, and free oil changes for life on the life of your purchase as long as you own that vehicle from Caldwell Country Chevrolet. They're a proud supporter of Aggie Athletics, and they have a strong and committed sales staff with many, many years of experience satisfying customer needs. It's not a far drive. We're talking 15 minutes, the edge of Bryant to the beginnings of Caldwell. Short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the great people at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell. Online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com.
Everyone, David Nuño here in a moment right now for Snaps Clothing. They are the makers of the only official licensed Texas A&M Pearl Snap shirts. I'm wearing it right now. This is part of their Tailgater collection. It's built for game day. My friend Edgar over there is doing great work. You've got to check out the clothing. It's the Pearl Snaps. It's the cool look. It's kind of hip, but also Western. You'll love it, and they have great stuff there. They'll keep you comfortable as you're repping your Aggie gear, and it's the place to go to get it. Whether you're watching the game from home or tailgating before watching the stands, these shirts have you covered. Head to snapsclothing.com. That is snapsclothing.com to gear up for the season. And we're back. You know what this is?
I don't.
Keep it up, keep it up, keep it up, keep the music. There's one country guy I talk about a lot on this show. Very popular on social media for how he treats women.
Is that Brian guy?
Yeah, Zach Bryan. He makes good music, sorry. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. Let's go to Kaylee at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Somebody had a hot take, a 979 number, on Pharrell Payne, who makes me happy.
Yes, so they said, hot take, Payne had the best night, and although Coleman ended with a double-double, dude should have had a triple-double and was the cause of quite a few turnovers for the Aggies.
Pharrell Payne did not miss a shot. I think there's one time I thought he might have missed, but he might have gotten away from him for a turnover. That was the only drawback for Pharrell last night. He did have 4 turnovers, but did not miss a shot. So if you got the ball into him, it was usually going in, 10 points, 11 rebounds, 2 for 2 at the free throw line.
Yep.
And he's given them that missing element. That
again, he doesn't have to be their best player.
Man, Rodney Terry should have got on him.
That's never going to die, is it?
No, it's not.
He doesn't have to be their best player, but on certain nights he becomes their best player, and he becomes a difference maker regardless because of what he can do in the paint.
That's why he's Pharrell Paint. good name doing the paint. And you know what? I'm really impressed with him at the free throw line.
Yep.
Because he came into this season, I think, as like a 52% career free throw shooter, or 52, 53. You know, really struggled with it. And I mean, he's not automatic like Wade.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't know what he's shooting at the foul line, but I bet it's around 65 to 70%, if not better.
Right.
I mean, he's not a liability there. Man, you know, you see some of the block shots he makes, and just the rebound. You know, he has provided a missing element.
Yeah. He is, and he's a guy that if you need a bucket, can get you a bucket. He's a guy, if you need to bring attention off of one of the offensive playmakers, if you will, you just give him the ball, it causes chaos and opens others up.
Yes, it does. And there have been times when he's gotten the ball inside and everybody's collapsing, boom, out to the 3-point line, and they've scored.
Obi, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
When we come back here on TexAgs Live, we'll go to Mobile, Alabama. That's where we'll find John Harris of the Houston Texans and, of course, the footballtakeover.com founder. We'll talk to him and get his thoughts on everything happening in football. It's next on TexAgs Live. We're back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go to the Boss Firearms Hotline. That's where we find the professor, John Harris of the Houston Texans, their sideline reporter, and, of course, the founder of footballtakeover.com. Johnny, good morning, buddy.
Good morning, David. How are you?
Good, man. How's Senior Bowl treating you?
It's good. It's good. Actually driving over right now for day 2. Good day 1. A lot of players, a lot of SEC flavor. The afternoon practice I thought was interesting because I think there were 12 defensive linemen, and 11 of them were from the SEC. And the other one was basically, I don't know the right way of saying this, but R.J. Oben, who played at Notre Dame, was given an invite last year after his year at Duke, but then he decided he was going to transfer. And so they decided to kind of give him kind of an invite because they had given one before. But he basically is the only non-SEC defensive lineman in the mix. And it is a loaded group, obviously, including Shamar Stewart.
Well, let's talk about Shamar because he's getting some love, and he's always had all the intangibles, the measurables. You look at him, he's got it all. There were some videos circulating yesterday of how good he looked there at the Senior Bowl and some thoughts as well. Tell me what you think about Shamar at the next level, what he needs to show scouts here this week, and what you think he can do at the next level.
Yeah, he's a physical specimen. My God. I had been watching the 7-on-7, and they had they were doing something with the D-line, O-line that made me watch 7-on-7. And then I looked down, and I was like, oh, man, they transitioned into one-on-ones again. And so I literally looked down there for 2 seconds, and I hear it said, "Hut," and I see this blur just taking offensive tackle and put him right on his wallet. And I was standing with our buddy Lance Zierlein, and Lance was like, "Johnny, who is that?" And I was like, "I think that's Stewart." And he gets up, and I'm like, "Yep." I mean, ran him flat over. And I'm like, just the power that he has, the physical strength, his movement skills are so good. I mean, he's everything. Like when you go to an NFL scout and you say, hey, what's your team's like top 8 bullet point things that you're looking for in a defensive lineman, an edge rusher, guy to get after quarterback? And Shamar checks all 8 of those and then some. And so that is going to be what gets him drafted, I think, in the latter part of the first round. And I think that's good for him because I don't think he'll be asked right away to go be the guy. He's not going to be day one starter, Will Anderson Jr., like away you go. Because I do think there's polish to his game that's needed. Like it's raw, but man, it is enticing. And I think there's a lot you can do with him. But I could see Shamar kind of following a little bit in the lines of a guy like Montez Sweat. Like Montez was super athletic, but his game as he came to the NFL was not fine-tuned. But, man, he was 6'6", 265. He ran like a 4.4. I don't know if Shamar will run that, but Shamar's going to be 6'6", 280-something and play on the edge and can run just as fast as anybody on the edge. So you combine those athletic traits with teams that are always looking for pass rushers. He's going to go in the bottom part of the first round, I think, and I think that's good because it's going to mean a playoff team. He doesn't have to come in right away. He can kind of grow into the position that they want him to be, going forward. So I think that's going to be better than going to a place he's got to start day one. I think it's going to force him into some bad habits, and I think he's going to end up not progressing the way he should. But I think going to a team like the Chargers, they've got older guys on the edge. I don't think he would come to Houston because we've got so many guys. But the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, another great one, where he could go and be on the edge. There are some guys they've already got he can fit right in. So he's going to go in that bottom part of the first round, and I think that is the perfect situation for him.
Why do you think his numbers were not eye-popping?
That's a great question. I think there's oh boy, we've had this conversation with a lot of pass rushers over the time, and it's like, well, can he develop into a good pass rusher who can finish? And finishing at the quarterback can mean a whole lot of different things. It can mean improvement with your hands. It can be improvement with, just your overall technique. And I think that's more to do with it than anything else, David. I think just working on his technique, his hands, just the fine-tuning aspects of playing the position. Sometimes you just play. Sometimes, when you're in college, you're going. You talk about scheme and you work on that, but maybe you're not all the time working on the fundamentals, the fine-tuning that will get a guy with that kind of athletic ability to the quarterback. And again, I use Montez Sweat as a great example. I got to remember Montez being overly productive. But he got to the NFL, he started finding ways to finish the quarterback. And he found what was right for him. And he got in a good scheme, a scheme that he was gonna flourish in, and then he moved to Chicago where it was even better. So I think all of those things can all work in a guy's favor. Plus, I wouldn't be opposed to seeing Shamar work from the inside a little bit more like Danico Autry does for us and get against guards where he can beat them with quickness. But I think when it comes to numbers, TFLs, sacks, sometimes those things are sometimes you get really, really lucky and your numbers end up being really, really good, because quarterback ran into a sack every now and again. You get a couple that way. Sometimes you just get unlucky. Sometimes you've gotten there and you've gotten a hand on the quarterback, but you just can't finish. And sometimes that just takes time. You're still a young dude. So I think it's more that than anything else. And, guys get to the NFL. I give a great example, John Grenard. John was a tremendous, I thought, pass rusher coming out of Florida. But I watched John every single day work on the craft of pass rushing. So he could finish, and he could finish at the quarterback. And instead of just almost or pressure, he can finish with TFL or sack. And I think that's going to happen for Shamar. I do worry about it. I think teams are a little worried about it, that he wasn't as productive this past year as he probably could have been and maybe should have been. But, there also was kind of that defensive line was, there was a race to the quarterback a lot of times with the guys they had getting after the quarterback. And sometimes you get beat by your own guys. Sometimes you're right there. Sometimes you have plenty of wins, but you just didn't get the sack itself. I think scouts see through that. They're going to know that he's as talented physically as anybody in this draft. And then the coaches and the scouts are going to be like, well, you know what? We can turn that dude into a player. We can get the most out of him. And a lot of times they do. There are some times that a guy is not as totally committed. He's into the money more than anything else, and it doesn't work out. I get the feeling that Shamar, with that kind of ability, that kind of talent, if he accepts the coaching, he'll end up being an 8 to 10 sack a year guy for sure.
Talking to John Harris here on TexAgs Live. Johnny, I'm going to ask you about an Aggie in the NFL that's not still playing, although Anaya Smith and Braden Mann are playing for the Philadelphia Eagles, so we're excited about what the Super Bowl could bring. But I want to talk about Edge Cooper because I was reading NFL.com, and they have these unsung heroes in the NFC. Overlooked, the article says, unsung heroes of 24, one overlooked surprise contributor from each team. And it says Edge Cooper played fewer snaps than most defenders on the list, but his performance down the stretch changed the calculus midway through the season. You could see things begin to click for the rookie linebacker. And we've known he has surpassed what I thought he would do as a rookie. Just from afar, what did you think of Edge Cooper this year?
Well, we got a chance to see that in Week 7. And in that game, I remember him going in the game and making a couple of plays, and I'm just like, damn, he's going to be better than people thought. And you know, David, I was as high on him as anybody. I mean, I had him, I think, my highest-rated linebacker. And I just started seeing Jeff Hafley use him as the year wore on the way he should have been. And you started seeing the speed flourish and, the smarts and the ability to, close on ball carriers. It was all the things we saw at A&M. It was like they went to just another level. And we always thought he was capable of doing that. I mean, we saw that last year at A&M. But he's got a really good scheme in Green Bay that Hafley coaches it very, very well. He got a lot of opportunity. Green Bay had some injury issues. And sometimes it just opens up an opportunity for a guy to get a chance to play. And he played in that Week 7 game against us, and I thought, well, it's going to take a lot to get him out of this lineup. He is too fast. He's too physical. they're going to really like him. And lo and behold, after that game, you know, he started getting more and more time. I think he is going to be one of the better young linebackers in this league. And he is going to be a focal point in Green Bay. And he is going to be really fun to watch because he's in Green Bay and he's not in the AFC or the AFC South. So thank God he is in the NFC North and we see them, you know, every 4 years. I'm happy at that. But for his sake, I think he found the right fit. I think that's the one thing, David, a lot of times when we talk about rookies and young players, we mention the word fit. The fit has to be right. And for Edge, Green Bay was the right fit. Now, you have to make the most of your opportunities, but it has to be the right fit. Green Bay was the absolute perfect fit for him. And like I said, I'm just glad as hell he's in the NFC because he would be a problem if we had to face him twice a year if he's in the AFC South or somewhere in the AFC.
Talking about John Harris here on the Boss Firearms Hotline, TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. So Andrew Berry, the Cleveland Browns GM, says they have no plans to trade Myles Garrett. They want him to retire there. That comes after, I think Myles maybe a week or 10 days ago had mentioned he doesn't want to be a part of a rebuilding project. What are the Cleveland Browns? Are they a rebuilding project? And what do you think about Myles Garrett's future there?
Well, first of all, I feel bad for the Browns that they had to deal with Deshaun Watson in that situation. But you get what you ask for. And they wanted Deshaun Watson, and that's the situation that they got in response. So I hate it for him, but it is what it is. I hate it for Myles because Myles is everything you'd want an NFL player to be and committed to a city in Cleveland that a lot of players have not been committed to. And he has devoted time, effort, money, everything to that city. And so I'm glad that Andrew said that. I think it's the right thing to say. And I hope that Myles realizes, hey, this thing can get turned around. You just have to cut out the infection. And that'll happen soon enough, I think, and find the right quarterback. And once you find the right quarterback, I think Cleveland can get that thing turned around. It's still a pretty darn good roster. It's just a matter of having the quarterback that is devoted to that talent just as much as Myles is. And they have tried and tried and tried and tried. And it just, nothing has really been a really good fit. So the challenge is, can they find the right quarterback? I don't think any rookie, Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, none of them. I don't think this rookie class has got that answer. And I think that's the problem. They don't have that answer. But is there a free agent? Can they make a trade? Can they do something? And that's where they're hamstrung so much by the Watson situation. But Myles is the best representative you can have of an organization. The best. And I hate ever facing him. You know, when we've got to face him, we don't have to face him this year, thank God, in 25. Maybe the playoffs. But he's just everything you want in an NFL player. If I'm an Aggie, I'm so proud that guy is from my university because he's everything you want in an alum, in Aggie. I mean, he's everything you want. So I'm glad Andrew Berry said it. It would have been dumb had he said anything else. I just hope they can get things done, get him back, pay him the right money he deserves. He can play 3 more years, lock up a Hall of Fame career, call it quits having been a Brown, and hopefully at one point, getting to big games that he deserves to play in.
Do you think Deshaun plays for the Browns again?
Nope. See ya. Don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you. Goodbye.
Does he play in the NFL again?
I wouldn't. I mean, what NFL team is going to go, yeah, let's get that guy? Now, you never say never, but he's coming off. He got in the league, he already had an ACL tear. Then he gets an ACL tear as a rookie. Then he's got the shoulder stuff. Then he's got the Achilles. I mean, he's beat the hell up. Not to mention, he has not been a great quarterback at all the last how many ever years. I mean, the last good year he had as a quarterback was 2020. I mean, the COVID year. That was it. So, I mean, if you want to look at it this way, he had 3 good years in the NFL, and that was it. After that, nothing. So, I think I think he might be on a roster, and I think he's going to be on the Browns roster. I think he has to be. But I don't know after that what organization is going to go, yeah, let's bring in the guy that had 25 different lawsuits that can't throw the football anymore. It just doesn't make much sense. And I'll be honest, David, I don't know that Deshaun wants to play football anymore. I think Deshaun, once he got the taste of money, real money, I think that became why he played football. It's why he does things. It's why he's, really kind of gets up every day. Balenciaga, Lamborghini, Ferrari, Instagram cloud. That's what he's all about. Look at his Instagram. Hashtag 2025 glory. Like, what? And then he shows pictures of himself in the Browns want him gone. Browns fans want him gone. There isn't anybody that wants him around. It's just been a bad situation all around.
Johnny, what did you make of Cliff Kingsbury saying, you know what, I'm good staying at Washington. I'm not interested in interviewing with the Saints?
You would think Cliff, Cliff's got a good situation, don't get me wrong. But you can look at Houston and go, well, hey, Bobby Slowick had a good situation too, seemingly. And Bobby's gone after his second year. Now Bobby's not as hot a prospect anymore. So, I think from that standpoint, you got to be very, very, you got to strike while the iron's hot. But Cliff has been there before. I do think that he probably has a better relationship than maybe Bobby had with CJ. Cliff's got that with Jaden Daniels, so maybe that helps him. Obviously, got him all the way at the AFC Championship game, that NFC Championship game. That definitely helps him. I think the guy has a feel for things. I think Cliff's got a good feel for what's going on in Washington. I think he stays there one more year, and then regardless of what happens, I think he ends up being a hot prospect for 2026. But you better strike while the iron's hot, man. Eric Bieniemy 3 years ago, everybody interviewed that dude. Everybody. And then he could barely get a college offense coordinator job. So these things go fast and they go in cycles. Joe Brady was hot. And I don't know if he's going to get the Saints job. If he doesn't, he's going to go back to Buffalo. And he has a great year. Joe Brady will be a candidate. But what if Joe Brady doesn't? What if Josh has an off year in 2025? Joe Brady falls off the radar screen. These things happen so fast and so furiously now in the NFL. It's crazy. So I understand it from Cliff's standpoint. I get it. It's their year. Let's see what more he can do. Maybe there'll be better options than one. I'm not saying the Saints are a bad option, but you just have better options or choices. So maybe that's what he's looking for. But you just know these things can disappear in 1 year's time, man, and they can go fast.
John, last thing for you. Joe Klatt, who's the TexAgs favorite, said, no team can dispute a champion from a 12-team format. How do you feel about, I don't want to say the legitimacy of a 12-team, because that's not what I'm trying to get at, but just his thoughts on if you had to go through the grind that Ohio State had to go through, you can't dispute that they were the best team in college football.
I don't know, man. Were you tongue-in-cheek about Joel and TexAgs? Anyways.
Yes.
Okay, I thought so. I'm not the biggest Joel fan. Joel says stuff for a response. I don't get into this best team, that team, whatever. Look, the way the playoff is set up for 12 teams, and the team that wins it, wins it. Was Ohio State playing the best ball going into it? No. Was Ohio State even the best team? It is the most talented team, I thought. That's just my personal belief. Did they play as a team? Not through the whole year. It wasn't until the playoff where they started playing much better team ball. So, I don't know. It's kind of a nuanced thing, I think, especially, with a tournament style, which we've gotten to. It's like an NCAA tournament. Does the best team always win? Hell no. But we crown a champion, and that's the champion we remember. We talk about some of the teams that don't win it over the years. 83 Houston, didn't win it. That was a team that probably should have. 1999 Duke was 38-2. They didn't win it. But were they the better teams? Probably more talented, but to win it, you got to play as the best team. And I think Ohio State had the most talent at the end of the year. playing probably the best team ball by the time they got through. Notre Dame, I thought, played really, really well. Notre Dame played excellently. They just didn't have the horses that Ohio State did. So from that standpoint, I don't know if it's just semantics. You argue about team and talented this or whatever, but Ohio State deserved it. They won the games they had to win. They won, they won on the road the second round, or won bowl games basically after that. So they played well. Ohio State was good. Leave it at that. I don't know why Joel's got the best team. You don't have to legitimize a 12-team playoff. Like, it's like whoever won it. Great. Move on.
I like the way you think, Johnny. What's going on footballtakeover.com? Thank you, Johnny. Talk to you soon, buddy. See you, bro. John Harris there on the Boss Firearms Hotline. We'll hit a break. We'll come back with Coach Pat Henry. Got a lot to get into with Coach Henry. Right now, Bird Dog, when's the last time you guys went hunting? Obviously, if you're looking for an awesome hunting experience, you need to reach out to Bird Dog because they're an Airbnb for hunting experiences. They can do it for the actual hunter or for the ranchers trying to find people to hunt on their land. And they find many ways for those landowners to make money on their property. They certainly can help you by finding ways of things you haven't even thought about. They can find you the tax benefits that are on your land that maybe you have not even didn't know was a possibility, right? That's what they're great at doing. So there's ag exemptions and wildlife, but there's a lot of other ones you can get as well. So if you're farming or running cattle on your land, let Bird Dog find the money for you. They're going to optimize those tax benefits and make you extremely happy and get you some money in your pocket. Some of their clients are making an extra $100 to $500 per acre of land. They can be your personal consultant and help you maximize the income on your land. So if you're a ranch broker, you need to talk to them so you can help your buyer or your seller understand the additional ways to make money. You don't even have to sell hunts with this program. They can take care of it just for farming and running cattle on your land. The website is birddogit.com. That is birddogit.com. Check it out. And we're back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Time for our weekly conversation with Pat Henry here, brought to you by the Brazos Running Company, your local-owned Aggie specialty running store with your local source for Viore. You got Duck Camp in the Century Square below the Star Cinema Grill in College Station. And by the way, I found out this. Mike let me know. They're having a warehouse sale on Saturday and Sunday. Sell shoes as low as $50. So they're going to have a bunch of, from Viore, Duck Camp, 50% off on many of these. You want to check out the warehouse sale on Saturday and on Sunday. And with that, Coach Henry.
Yeah, that's good for those guys. That's good.
I think we should just go and buy a bunch of stuff. Us two, we'll video it.
I'll stay away from buying shoes.
Okay. All right. I was just hoping maybe it was, David, I like you so much, I'm going to buy you those 50% off Viores. All right. Let's talk about this past weekend. Ted Nelson.
Yeah, good meet.
Yeah.
We broke both school records in the mile, late men and women. I think the men's run was a little bit better. Cooper at 3:58 is a great time.
Yes, sir.
It's a great time. And then we had another one run 4:02 and another one run 4:03 and another one run 4:05. So we've got a good group of milers right now.
Yeah.
But Jaya Covington in the hurdles, this is her first time on the track this year. She'd had a little bit of injury, and this was the first time she's been healthy, and boy, she ran real well, broke the school record, and I think that's the leading time in the country right now. Even
8:01? Is that what I'm seeing? Yeah.
Yeah. So young lady out of Houston's doing real well.
So let's kind of go in parts. Deborah ran the women's mile 4:40.94.
Yeah.
Just her growth.
She may not be a miler, and she may be a 3K or a 5K girl, but I don't know enough about her yet, and it's just watching her in training, we'll find out a little bit more about her strengths. But she showed some really good things in that mile this week. She just kind of the girl she was running with was real good. The girl that ended up being second that she beat was a really good one, and I was happy to just see her grab on and try to stay on her. But then the last lap, she looked real strong, and so she beat her, and she ran real well. So we'll see. I think she's good one.
Pat, talk about the I don't know if ability is the right way to phrase it, but running your race, not what the competitors are running. But that being said, whatever they are doing in your framework to get the best of you.
Yeah. A lot of races, I'll talk to a person about before the race starts, is run between your lines. Don't worry about who else. Let's see what you have in the tank and see what you're capable of doing. The people, the environment is there. You don't worry about that, but you got to be doing, what we're trying to accomplish out of practice. You got to be trying to do that, and so I talk about staying between the lines. Stay between the lines on a lot of our stuff, like our short hurdlers. They cannot worry about the person next to them. It's there. The competition is there, but they got to worry about technique. You get to a mile, or above, even 800 meters. You have to have some you have to have some skills of being able to technically run a race that you deal with the other talent and beat the other talent. And then in that race, it's not necessarily about time, it's about who you beat.
And Cooper, obviously, we talked a little bit about his time, but just that group, you were telling me there were several guys just right in that mix.
Yeah. And there was a couple other guys from other schools in there too. So it was a great mile. But Cooper was our school record holder going in right at 4 minutes flat. A 2-second PR is big time. But I'll tell you, he's going to have to run just a little bit faster to get to the national meet. Wow. Even at 3:58 years ago, that would have been world headlines. Really. Because people didn't run. 10 years ago, that was unbelievable for most people. But it's changed.
It has changed.
A lot,
And then Jaya, SEC Women's Runner of the Week, the #1 time in the country at 8:01 there in the 60-meter hurdles.
Yeah. Second race, she had a good race. She had a good competitor right next to her. And And so it made for an excellent competition for her. First time on the track this season. Sometimes you run your absolute best first time you touch the track, puts a little pressure on you next time. We'll see how she does in Albuquerque this week.
You know, one of the things that I think is so cool about your program is from year to year, you're always going to be in the mix. I mean, A, talent, B, reputation, C, the rankings reflect that. The first team rankings come out. Men are first, women are seventh. Obviously, you want to be that at the end of the year.
Sure.
But that is also a testament of the kind of athlete that you recruit and what A&M has been able to do throughout the years.
Well, I'll tell our team it's. I've been fortunate enough to win enough of these that you don't know you don't know. You know you're going in the mix.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we want to do. We want to go into those championships in the mix. If we're in the mix, we'll have a good opportunity because I think we have a good environment. We have a good team environment. We have people that care for each other on the teams that win. Not all are that way. I've had some teams that are very talented, but they're not cohesive, and so it's more of a challenge that way for us than it is. But this is a very cohesive group on the men's side, especially. Ladies are doing better, but on the men's side, it's very cohesive because they know they're talented and they want to win.
Ahmad ran a 20:57 in the 200 meter. Now ranks third all time at the Ted Nelson.
Yeah. And on our school record, on our record board, he ranks number 3 all time.
Number 3 all time.
That's one of the top couple times in the country. Ahmad, we don't run 200 meters very often. He's a quarter miler. Now all of a sudden he's starting to think he's a short sprinter. But Ahmad is really talented, and he's a little guy.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he is a talented young man. To run that fast this early was great to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Your team is split this week, so let's talk a little bit. I think you're leaving for New Mexico tonight.
Yeah, and we're leaving for Boston at noon.
Okay.
But we're taking. This is the kind of trip I don't like. It's the reality of the sport. You're forced into doing what you have to do to get this done, because ours is about getting the top 16 times in the country. You got to be in the top 16 times to go to the national meet, or heights or distances. And these distance, Boston has got a little bit of a reputation of having a good environment for some distance people. And sometimes that environment for distance people is more important than it is for sprinters. So we'll send I'm sending 12 athletes to Boston, but we're taking 52 to Albuquerque.
Excuse the ignorance, but why are certain markets known for faster times? What is it about Boston?
Lots of people up there.
Mm-hmm. Amps you up, and
yeah, I mean, indoor track is big time in the East. Lots and lots of facilities. Lots of people compete indoors just because it's too cold to get outside. But yeah, they've got a good distance environment, and they've tried to establish that. We ran the national meet there last year, and it was probably the most dead environment I've ever run a national meet at. Yeah, because they might know about the distances, they don't know about anything else.
Right.
You know.
Right.
But I say that's not true. But the environment just wasn't that good.
Feel good overall where you are right now?
Yeah. We're relatively healthy. We got a couple people that are contributors that have got to get healthy, but they're getting close to not being able to help us indoors. If they don't come around here in the next week or so, it's going to be hard for them to be successful indoors. So we'll see. There's a couple that can contribute, but they've got to make up their mind they're going to contribute.
Good luck, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, thank you. Appreciate you inviting us in. Yep.
That is Pat Henry here, our weekly conversation brought to you by the Brazos Running Company, your local Aggie-owned specialty running store. And as a reminder, Warehouse sells Saturday and Sunday shoes as low as $50, apparel from On, Viore, Duck Camp, and others at 50% off. You need to check it out, the Brazos Running Company.
The good thing about that, too, is they can talk to you about what shoe is good for your foot, because they have they have young people working over there that are track athletes.
Yeah.
And so they can tell you, you know, are you a pronator? Are you a supinator? What do you do? And
They helped me. Yeah.
Good.
They watched my gait. They said, you know what? It looks like you're a little bit of a toe striker.
Yeah. Yeah.
So-
And that's good because you can go in, you can go buy a nice pair of shoes at a lot of places, but maybe not the right nice shoe.
Not the right shoe. That's right. That's Pat Henry. We'll be back in 2 and 2 with Tom Schuberth. What a difference a day makes. Welcome back to TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Tom Schuberth is in studio, the coach breaking down the Aggie basketball team. Coach, I never felt that game was in doubt, even though it was a grind. I told OB in the beginning of the show, like it was just kind of like a slow-moving lead kind of game. They had that great start to the second half, but even when Oklahoma made their runs, I didn't feel worried because it was being played at A&M's tone and pace.
Absolutely. I think they do the little things that are necessary to win. I know we made our free throws last night, and I've listened to fans and watched the blogs and all about the free throw shooting. And I just think A&M finds a way to put themselves in position to win. Obviously, making free throws helps you and makes it a little bit easier, but that's part of basketball. So even if they didn't shoot high level from the free throw line, I still think they would have found a way to win because of how well they play defense and how well they rebound the basketball.
83% from the free throw line, a team that on a couple of occasions has shot 50, 60 points lower than that.
That was impressive. In fact, I kept looking up at the stat board, and I was just amazed at how, you would have thought Oklahoma was up 15 points based on the stats. We had way more turnovers. The only area we actually dominated was the rebounding. Right. But, it's like when you get 10 chances to make a basket, you're eventually going to make one, and that's kind of the mentality of what A&M does.
Yeah, that's certainly the case. And the rebounding. Look, we know that this team rebounds. Like, that's what they do. Yesterday, that was just the discrepancy was, for Oklahoma, I should say, that was just ridiculous.
It was almost embarrassing. Like, I can't believe a team could dominate the boards like A&M did, but that's their mentality. And the preparation they put into playing opponents, I think, is amazing. When I come on here, I am just another opinion, but what I try to do is think how a coach would think when they're rolling into College Station to try to beat A&M. What's the formula? Or give you maybe an insight that, maybe the regular fan wouldn't know. But I've been in tons of staff meetings for over 40 years trying to figure out how to win basketball games. Because the bottom line, that's what Coach Williams and his staff is doing every time they come up with a game plan. How do you win?
Right.
And their formula is incredible. They're so prepared, and then they're so demoralizing to the opponent with their defense and offensive rebounding. I try to listen to you guys before I come in. So the play that was amazing to me, I don't even know if they showed it because I was at the game, is when Garcia had the ball in the second half and the shot clock was running down. Did they emphasize that at all?
Yeah.
He shot the ball, it hit the rim, and it went all the way on the opposite side. So he went 50 feet, sprinted.
That's what I was telling OB. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know you talked about it. I mean, if
to me that was it was an empty possession because they didn't get points, but it just showed how good they are.
It was amazing. I push him to my NBA scout friends about I think he can be a Dennis Rodman. Now, again, I listened to Coach Williams talk about his numbers. He is such a selfless player that his numbers aren't going to be great, but he's always a factor in the ballgame. And last night, it was glaring because he got 29 minutes where normally he's only getting, 15 to 20. Sure. So I think it was able to see really what Garcia is about. But I have to say that about their whole team. They step up, and the only thing they're worried about is winning the basketball game, and that's what makes a monster of a basketball team.
So they shot, 17% from the three-point line. They missed a bunch. But I wasn't upset with the shot selection yesterday.
Right. So I'd like to address that a little bit, because when I first started covering, or actually just coming into games, since Buzz Williams has been here, and I think he changed a little bit. I mean, he's always been a great coach. To me, 2 years ago, after they got beat from Walford came in here and beat them, we talked about that. To me, that was the pivotal point where they changed how they played a little bit with the tenacious offensive rebounding. And it's been so successful, and that's their formula. So now I realize it doesn't matter their shot selection. And the other thing that Coach Williams does, which is rare in my opinion, is that he gives the confidence to players. Now, with that, they have to know their strengths and weaknesses, and sometimes maybe a not-so-good three-point shooter has so much confidence he shoots it. I'm sure Coach Williams would like to reel that in a little bit, but you can't give a guy confidence and then take it away from him. Sure. It's kind of and so to me, that's what makes them so good and dangerous, that they can beat anybody at any time. And then what looks bad sometimes when they do take those bad shots or, ill-advised shots, and they don't go in and maybe they're not able to chase the offensive rebound down, then you start questioning, well, what are they doing? But I think he does a tremendous job, and the rare ability to give those players that confidence to become even better than they are. Not many coaches in the country do that, and so it's a credit to him, and I think that's why they're the 12th ranked, 13th ranked team in the country.
We got to hit a break here, but I do want to close this segment with a Wade Taylor comment or a question. He hasn't shown recently those Wade-type games. I'm not worried, but I'm keeping an eye on it. He's still very effective. I'm not saying he's not, but do you see what I'm talking about?
You're spot on. I keep waiting for him to break out. I don't expect him to ever make a mistake. Now, he had 4 turnovers yesterday, and you remember the 2 long passes and then the one that got cross-court that got tipped. I mean, the great idea, just made poor decisions or made a poor pass. But he's going to have games where he's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm. Let's hit a break here. We'll come back. I want to talk a little bit more, all right?
Sounds great.
Talking about the Association of Former Students right now. That's the organization you need to reach out for to have opportunities to get your brand in front of a bunch of Aggies, right? If you want to get your brand in front of a bunch of attendees of all their awesome events, reach out to the Association of Former Students. They have Aggie Ring Day. You know how many people are in town for that. All Aggie Hullabaloo gathering. They welcome tens of thousands of guests. And there are many sponsorship and vendor opportunities to get your brand in front of those attendees. They offer a wide variety of both digital and in-person options to promote your brand, and they include title sponsorship naming, on-site presence, activation, recognition in social media posts, and much, much more. Plus, there's advertising opportunities in both the Texas Aggie magazine and the Aggie newsletter, which are seen by over 230,000 people. So if your business is ready to engage with Aggies and other Aggies all around town, you need to make sure you reach out to the Association of Former Students that have been supporting the Aggie Network for over 140 years. For more information on options available, please email sponsorships@aggienetwork.com. It is the Association of Former Students. And we're back, TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Tom Schuberth with us here. Tom, so fears. He was scared to shoot. I mean, he had a lot of fear last night. I'm trying to be OB here. But he had a rough one, a goose egg.
He really did. He was 0 for 5 from the floor, 0 for 2 from the free throw line. And I would like to back up that you brought up a point. If you remember the Oklahoma game, 18-point lead in the second half. Aggies come back, incredible comeback. And the same with the Ole Miss. We can talk about that. But speaking of free throws, I want to say the Aggies were able to win both of those games because the other team did not convert a free throw if they had put them away. Fears, if you remember, had a 1-and-1 opportunity to put that game away, and he missed the front end. And then Ole Miss the same way. They had the lead. They could have gone up 3 or actually 4 with the 1-and-1, and the kid missed. So sometimes you need the other team to miss free throws. But the job that A&M does on star players sometimes of other teams, and again, I think freshmen, it's hard to be elite. I mean, if you remember,
he's also graduated early. He's a reclassified.
Yes, correct. Yeah, so he's a young player, and he looked young yesterday. He looked scared, like you said. And that's what the defense does sometimes, intimidates you. And although, it was just fun to watch, and that's going into the preparation and the game planning of what Texas A&M's trying to do.
Well, what's interesting, Tom, is that A&M is the worst free throw shooting team in the SEC. I believe OU is the best free throw shooting team.
Correct.
And not that OU shot poorly, but A&M shot so well.
And you and I talked, and I think you like the word timely free throws. They missed timely free throws, Oklahoma. They didn't get to the line very often, and early they stepped up there in the 1-and-1 and missed, I think, 3 front ends, for sure 2, from elite free throw shooters. So, again, even those guys have bad days, but to me, A&M is the type of team that regardless of what happens with free throws and rebound and all, they're going to be in a ball game because of the way they just make plays when they need to.
And how about the effort you got every night from Pharrell Payne? Like this guy, I think it's his first double-double of his career last night. He is just a very dependable player in multiple ways, not just one way.
Sure. So I've heard announcers and people talk about, again, I don't question anything anymore because I don't know the game plan and the strategy. But, he catches that ball exactly where, as a defense, you want him to, outside the three-point line. But somehow he makes his way to the basket and then makes plays for other people when they take it away. He was 4 for 4 last night, if I'm not mistaken, correct? And, his field goal percentage is so, astronomical. And then he's making timely free throws, in my opinion. He made the big ones at Texas to give us a chance. Yeah, and yet, he plays his role, though.
Tom, I'm worried, South Carolina. I shouldn't be worried, but I'm worried. I feel like they're due.
They are due. They should have beaten, came back and beat them at home last week, Saturday. It was
a Saturday game. Yeah, it was, I don't remember.
Yes, I know. It was a good team, but I don't know. I just think we match up so well against them. No, it wasn't. It was a good team. Yeah.
Kentucky. There
Kentucky,
you go.
Kentucky.
Yeah. There you go.
So
was it Florida?
No,
we're all
Florida.
over the place.
I think it was Florida.
It was Florida.
I believe. Yeah. And so, which is a very good team. I just think the way A&M's playing, I'm not worried about inferior teams, and I say that respectfully. I mean, South Carolina. Now, last year, South Carolina gave us a tough game here. The year before, I remember we rolled in there and beat them.
Like a 20-point lead at the half.
Yeah, it was never even a game. So I envision that just because I think the way the Aggies are playing defense and rebounding, that travels, and they're just they're really playing well.
Appreciate you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. When we come back, Ryan Brauninger, Recruiting Country, next on TexAgs Live.
Well, howdy, everybody. Welcome back to TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. I'm Ryan Brauninger in the host chair today. For the remainder of the day, we are in the Rollo Insurance Studios. I don't have any prep in front of me. This is recruiting country. It has got a new sponsor. I'm not aware of what the new sponsor is just yet. Here comes the host of the show with a swaggerous walk.
Bronny.
Listen.
Bronny.
Nick handed me a mic and said the lights are on.
I heard you demanded the microphone.
I did demand the microphone.
Look, had this been our owner, we would have waited. But it being David Nuño, powdering his nose or whatever, right? All right. We had to start sometimes we like
listen,
music playing.
the producer made it seem like it was urgent that somebody get in here and start the segment. So I am the backup.
Yeah.
And sometimes at the quarterback, you're like Anthony Richardson when he played against the Texans. You got a little tired. You had to tap out for a couple of plays.
Why do I got to be Anthony Richardson?
Well, that was just the first example that came to mind.
He was benched.
No, he wasn't. But you're more. So you want to be more like Joe Flacco?
Yeah, I'm more of a Joe Flacco. Yeah, I am.
You want to be
a guy that is underappreciated, journeyman. That when you need a win in the playoffs, you get one. You may be able to get to the Super Bowl, but he's going to lose you a Super Bowl too. That's who I am.
I am just the backup, and I'm the humble backup, right?
But you say that because now people are going, oh, Bronny, we love the B team this, B team
Seems
that.
like you've been reading things.
Yeah, I get text messages.
No. Here's what's happened. And look, it's not your fault. Everybody, since I've come back from vacation, how's my tan, by the way?
I don't notice the tan.
Okay. How's my tan, Kaylee?
Do you notice the tan?
Okay, thank you. Good. I'm like
you look like you're
like an oatmeal or chocolate chip cookie.
Your cheeks are a little red, like you're embarrassed.
I'm not embarrassed about a thing.
Okay.
Here's what happened though. I went on vacation.
Yep.
Beautiful Virgin Islands. I mean, one of my favorite, probably my favorite place on earth.
Kind of bragging, you get to time off in January.
Oh,
sorry. Sorry, what?
Mm-hmm. Let's not go there. That's not a conversation that we need to start on air. But that's a conversation that needs to happen when me, you, and Billy are all on there. And then he'll tell us about how little vacation he takes. Okay. So then we'll get kind of read the riot act then.
I have my response for that.
But I can't wait to hear it. Anyway, while I was gone, I missed all the snow, all the cold weather. And then I missed, quite, I guess, it's been very combative last couple of weeks. And I've been out, so I returned to this where it's like everybody's kind of on edge about what people are saying on the internet.
Or on television.
Yes. So, the funny thing about all this is nobody wants to have nuanced discussion. And this is kind of a segue into talking about recruiting today.
Sure.
Nobody wants to have a nuanced discussion, not just about Texas A&M or Texas A&M Sports, TexAgs Live, Tom Hart. Nobody wants to have a nuanced discussion. Everybody wants to be emotional and make up their mind, and that's dead set in the story. And it's kind of what we have been dealing with the very vocal minority on the. Now, I'm not saying this is completely different. This issue I'm talking about and kind of the stuff y'all went through with Tom Hart, completely different, but it's kind of similar to what we've saw in the transfer portal tracker thread throughout the duration of it, which the numbers on that thing, now that it is officially falling off the front page and unstickied and locked the topic, the numbers on it, and I was talking to Brandon Jones yesterday, the numbers on that transfer portal tracker thread, it might be the most engaged thread in TexAgs history, considering it was only up for 57 days.
Right.
And it got north of 4.1 million views and over 17,000 replies. Like, it was just incredible. And that's not I'm not trying to pat our recruiting team on the back. What I'm saying is the scope of what we're doing is sometimes you can sit in the studio and this, you sit here and you talk to the camera and you got the microphone on, but it's me, you, and two interns in here right now.
Right.
So you really don't understand the scope of what we're doing sometimes
100%.
until you step out of the radio studio and you have something like that with Tom Hart where you look at the internet and it's kind of blown up.
Right.
So all that to say, nobody wants to have a nuanced discussion about anything anymore. They'd rather just be mad on the internet, and the anonymity of it allows them to do it. Because how many times have you or I or Billy or Jason or Olin ever had any sort of these contentious interactions in person, face-to-face with anybody?
Never.
Not ever.
But I do want to add, I don't, like at my house, I have 3, almost 4 teenagers, right? I have a moody house, right? And I don't do well with moody. I don't
I do well with positivity. By the way, sometimes our love for Aggie sports makes it difficult to be happy, right?
I am not what I'm not trying to do is call out people for getting emotional about A&M sports. What I'm trying to do is to make sure that if you're going to if you're going to lash out emotionally, you also need to have at least some sort of grace period where you come back down and say, you know what, I was emotional, I overreacted. Let's look at this through a pragmatic lens and try to figure out what's really the issue here. What am I really mad about?
Sure.
Because and that's why, in coaching, what we've done with 12 baseball has been so beneficial for us is 48-hour rules. If you're a parent and you're upset with a coach or about a decision that he made with your son, give it 48 hours. And if you're still so pissed that you need to send the email or the text, then do it. But avoid it for 48 hours after the fact and see what happens.
Yeah.
And it's been beneficial because it allows people to come off the emotion. And, on the boards this morning and I made a comment about Hiro Kanu, who's the defensive tackle from Ohio State.
Yeah.
And A&M was kind of in the mix there. He was their last sort of portal target remaining. A&M was dead set to get a visit on Monday. And I thought this one had a chance to A&M to get that one over the line. He's got a background with Texas A&M. He came to camps here. They recruited him out of high school. He played on that international team he was with that international group with Theo Mellon-Orstrom.
Yep.
So there was obviously a connection on the team there. But as the portal world turns, I mean, he was dead set to be in College Station on Monday. Never made it. Went to Texas on Sunday. Canceled his A&M visit or said he was going to reschedule. From what it was kind of foggy there, but went to Florida instead. Thought maybe when he left Gainesville that he'd come back to A&M and visit. And that didn't happen. He went to Athens and visited Georgia. And then this morning he committed to Texas. And the fact of the matter is Texas had a major need at the position. A&M's got a need at the position too. But Texas had a need at the position and sort of kind of reset his market.
Yeah.
With their offer and their need, they put forth a package that would indicate that he is a priority target and a value to them. And maybe they can do that. And I think Florida probably got close, but I don't think anybody touched what the package was for Texas. And that's the reality of what we're living in today. I'm not saying the Longhorns did anything wrong. I'm not being hypercritical. That they won the battle, they won out. But it's just about how all this stuff is allocated, who's got a bigger need. And one of the crazier things now, David, is everybody's got money.
Yeah.
Now with the revenue sharing coming into practice, if you ever thought that this thing was going to level out and some kind of price control was coming just based off market, well, all you've done now is flood the market with even more teams that have even more money with this rev share thing. So if you have a left guard or a right guard on your offensive line or a backup, whatever, that you really like, and Kansas wants them, and Kansas has a desperate need for a right guard, Kansas can now go overpay. So you know what I'm saying? Like, everybody's got money. So it's only going to drive the price of the market up. And it's going to continue to give the players and the agents, more importantly, the leverage when they go into these deals.
By the way, this is Recruiting Country, brought to you by American Momentum Bank. American Momentum Bank is the only privately owned bank headquartered in Bryan College Station. They are committed to helping our community prosper by offering you a wide variety of personal and business banking solutions specifically designed to help your financial success with confidence and momentum on your side. He's Ryan Brauninger. I am David Nuño. So let's recap the portal. Like we talked about Hero that didn't end up being our hero. So sorry, I've been hanging out with OB a lot. I don't know if you've noticed.
Good. I could see the brain, the wheels turning. That's where you are kind of mimicking Olin a little bit. When I host, and you sit in that chair and you're saying something, and you say something that Olin could, in his brain, take off color and make a commentary about, as soon as you say it come out of your mouth, you can see it go into his ear.
And the eyes are working.
Hit that node in his brain, the inappropriate node, which he's got a bunch of them.
Yeah.
And so he's going to sit there and he's going to start doing like this to you and smiling.
And it's coming.
Like, and you don't know how you're going to end the segment, but you know that the next thing coming out of his mouth is going to be dangerous.
Yes.
So you are getting a little bit of that as well. But for A&M recap in the portal, I would give it a B+. Probably a B. I'd give it a B right now. Look, and I think if we had some more clarity on the Micah Hudson issue, you may could bump it up to a B+. But they've still got needs in the spring window. And I am of the opinion, and this is not coming from any conversation that I've had with anybody of substance in terms of sources or contacts, it is my gut, my personal opinion, that the spring portal window is going to be more active than ever. And I'm just basing that off of, look, every one of these transfer portal windows and covering, when you cover it and you look back at it as an analyst, every one of them, the decision-making processes have gotten more convoluted and impulsive and driven by the dollar, which makes me believe that there's going to be more players with more people in their ear in the spring saying, well, you deserve more money. I know you agreed to this amount of money in January to come back to school or to go to that school, but we think you're worth more now. And they're going to have so many people in their ear. And so I just think there's going to be enough players receptive to that type of sales pitch and increasing their overall profile and value that they're going to test the spring portal waters to see what's out there. So I do anticipate A&M having an opportunity to add another defensive tackle and to add at wide receiver and perhaps even add at a best available position. Or does Mike Elko and Colin Klein and the rest of the staff start going through their spring ball? And right now they're going through offseason lifts and conditioning with Tommy Moffitt. Maybe there's a roster deficiency right now that's popping up that they didn't know that they had. So there's obviously a scenario, not even a scenario. It's obviously a need that they have to go get a defensive tackle, interior defensive lineman, and they got to get a receiver. But outside of that, it wouldn't surprise me if the spring portal window, and if you go back and you look at last spring portal, they added guys like Solomon DeShields and Shane Calhoun and Coley Fayu and I think Josh Seliskar and Jacob Bostic. They added 5 last year, and I think Jacob Bostic was the last addition to the roster, and I think it happened in May, if I'm not mistaken. I think that was early May whenever he made his decision. So just like we've been saying for a long time now, it goes back to when this portal stuff started and we started to understand that the calendar and the roster management and player acquisition window was going to extend almost to the summer. You really can't grade what A&M has done for this football roster for the 2025 season until it's all done. So where are they at right now? I'd give it a B. It could go down, it could go up. They've done a pretty solid job, like what they did at tight end, like what they've done so far along the defensive line. They need another. I like what they did at receiver. They need another. And
that's even if Micah Hudson decided to come back. They need another.
Yes. And I think look, they took Jonah Wilson, and that was kind of out of nowhere take. And aren't you glad you did that now, at least for the spring? They had a very specific need at quarterback, and they went out and filled that as well. So they've done some nice things. They added a cover man in Julian Humphrey. They've just done some savvy moves that were necessary for the roster in terms of filling specific needs. And then they had big overarching needs like at receiver, like at the defensive line, pass rusher, that they did a good job of going out and getting. And then on top of that, you have to, I think, take into account when you're looking at what this football team looks like, at least for this spring, as they go into year 2 under Elko, you got to look at them bringing in all but one of their 2025 signees. The only one that's not on campus right now is Jerome Miles, and he's a freak, but he is returning from injury. And the very early returns on that group, I don't have anything about how they're performing in the weight room or how they look running through drills, anything like that. But what I have heard is they are sensationally good at being on time, going to class, turning stuff in, all the little stuff. Now, I mean, you could be at Rice and do all that, and it doesn't mean you're going to win any football games. But it is nice to hear that these kids have come in and taken care of their business.
That's the first thing that you can, if we want immediate notes, that's the first thing that can be reported. Because if it was the opposite, if you're telling me,
there was a class that came in recently that we heard the first couple of weeks, guys, no showing practice, no showing meetings, no showing workouts, not turning in paperwork, having to be chased down to just, for the simplest of stuff of like signing papers. All that stuff that kind of gets glossed over, and it's not, I don't think it has any bearing of winning games. I'm sure there have been a lot of teams that win a lot of football games that don't have kids taking care of the off the field stuff on time. But it is just like a kind of a comfortability check mark. Like, okay, like they got a good group of kids in.
Yep. If you have a question for Bronny, you can do it by texting it in or maybe even sending it on the YouTube page or on TexAgs.com.
979-693-1150 if you do want to text in your question. High school rankings. You guys have been updating some of those.
Yeah, it was an hour and 45-minute phone call plus another probably 30 minutes of text exchanges to do the 2028 list, which is, I've been doing this a decade now, and Jason's been doing it for longer. But there's some of the numbers that pop up in terms of class year that do make you feel very old. And 2028 is one of them. I mean, especially when you look at some of the names on that list at 2028, Des Bryant Jr., and a kid named Dylan Mitchell out of CE King, who's setting incredible, like he's probably the fastest 15-year-old in the country right now. And his dad was Billy Mitchell, who played wide receiver at A&M. I think he played with the McKinney brothers. So some of these guys that have made impact names, like you feel like, when was the last time Des Bryant played? It doesn't feel like it was that long ago.
It does not feel
he's got a kid that's going to be a recruitable athlete. But no, we kind of made some of the necessary adjustments in the class of 2025, our final rankings there. And if you're an A&M fan, you care about the guys that signed with A&M, and the biggest movers there for the Aggies were Lamont Rogers, who went from outside the top 10 to, I believe, number 6 or 7 in the state. We made him a 5-star player. And then the most well-deserved and biggest move for any A&M signee was Chase Sims. Gradually, so I think when we started ranking this class, he was outside the top 100, kind of kept climbing up, and our final rankings, I believe he came in at number 13.
Wow.
So
heck of a year.
Incredible year. And, he's now to the point where I firmly believe he is going to play next year. Like, he is going to be in that interior defensive line rotation. When he went to the Navy All-American Bowl after having such a sensational senior year, and, you give so much for your high school, and you win a state championship, and it's the first one in school history. And then you got to turn around and you go play an all-star game where it's like, do I really need to have the effort?
Yeah.
And I just capped off an incredible senior season. And he showed up in San Antonio and was like one of the talks of the week in terms of defensive linemen. So well-deserved for Chase, and I'm looking forward to see kind of how he impacts his team next year.
All right, we'll hit a break. We'll talk a little baseball on the other side, too. And we'll get some more Junior Day recaps to get into and some more visits. Right now, Milliken Reserve farm-to-table community in College Station. They got homes, they got trails, they got farms, they got wide open spaces with a mission to build a healthy community around nature. They have all the fun events there. When you go to Milliken Reserve, just know that they have sunrise coffee on the 30th, volunteer at the farm on the 31st. They've got more of those events. Farm stand on February 1st. They've got Take It to the Trails coming up on the 1st as well. Day at Play for the kids. Awesome to get them outside playing. And, of course, Bronny's favorite, Gardening 101, the tomato series, which I know he's all about. Yeah. Milliken Reserve committed to maintaining and restoring that natural habitat. They have all the animals you can imagine. Check out the website to learn more information on events and, of course, the awesome houses that they have out there. It is millikenreserve.com. And we're back on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner Jewelers. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio. It is recruiting country, and that is brought to you by American Momentum Bank. He's Ryan Brauninger. I'm David Nuño. Got a text message for you about baseball. Do you want to finish anything on recruiting country, or do you want to?
It depends on if you have more questions for me on recruiting.
We do.
Or not you. I don't care really about your questions. Do the listeners and subscribers have questions?
I don't like that tone. I'm going to be very honest with you.
I don't think Kelly liked it either. She's like, is he being serious?
Can I get a junior day recap, please?
Well, junior day recaps.
Junior days.
Yeah,
sorry.
so their junior days are over, but with how Coach Elko does it, their spring practices are very important to their spring recruiting because they like to bring guys in to see how the coaches interact with the players. And the 2 junior days I thought were really beneficial, and especially to set them up to get other visits from some of those top offensive line prospects like Jackson Cantwell or Emmanuel Henicho. Both of those guys are planning. What's going on, Olin?
I'm just thinking.
You got that weird look in your eye.
Just
again.
don't worry
in the middle
about
of okay. But they're doing it. They did a good job to set the framework to get official visits for some of the top guys they brought in over those junior days. And I still think that there is a run of in-state commitments coming. They just offered another safety out of North Crowley this morning. A kid named Aaron Bradshaw is like just taking off, 6'4", 190-pound safety. It's going to be very interesting to kind of see how the recruiting pitches and the pushes take shape in the state of Texas in this cycle, because right now it doesn't look like it's near as complete of a class in state as the one before it in 2025. And it certainly doesn't look like 2027, which 2027 is shaping up to be a very, very strong in-state class of players. So who gets the pushes? Because here's what you know, and I'm probably going to write about this at some point. The state of Texas, it bears this out over the course of, especially recent NFL drafts. There's going to be, even in a class for like 2026 where we don't think that it's as talented as maybe some before or after it, even within that class, there's going to be 25 or 30 players from the state of Texas drafted. Your job is to go find which ones they are.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So how the evaluations continue to take shape with the coaches on the road, getting to see some of these kids in person. Maybe there were kids that they were really high on before they went and saw them on campus that have now faded. And maybe there's some new guys as they go out across the state, especially these big metro regions. You're going to find players in Houston, Dallas, San Antonio. You're going to uncover some that maybe were on the fringe. Maybe they have a bunch of G5 offers and there's a couple of low P4s. And you're like, man, this kid's growing like crazy. He's got all the measurables. And I think that's one thing that Coach Elko is looking for, not so much stars, but measurables. We know that NFL offensive linemen check these boxes from a physical standpoint, right? We know they have this size hand, this arm length. We know that receivers run this fast. We know that DBs, if you're a corner and you're north of 4.55, you don't get drafted in the NFL. That's just the way it is. So maybe some of these guys that peaked early aren't getting faster. Maybe some guys that are late bloomers are now getting faster and reaching those measurements that the coaching staff's looking for. So there's a bunch of homework being done right now as they go around the state. And I'm really looking forward to seeing kind of how their big board unfolds in the state of Texas.
All right. I want to see the panic in Kaylee's face on this one. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. There's a text from Fonz01. Would you like a chance to read that text, or do you want me to handle it?
No, I'll let you do it.
You sure?
Yeah.
Bronny, this is from Fonz01. Yo quiero saber de Bronny. It's written in Spanish, okay?
Why is this your Spanish voice?
Because I
like your conversational Spanish voice.
Yo quiero saber de Bronny.
That's actually you're reading a
¿Qué
telenovela.
posición del equipo de béisbol él cree que va a tener el más impacto este año?
You sound like somebody that's reading a promotional or
infomercial in Spanish. Yeah, when you're watching Sábado Gigante, because I know you're a big fan.
I do watch a lot of Telemundo because they have EPL games on there, and I'm not paying for Peacock, so I do watch some Telemundo.
Well,
but
you had to have
the position that I think is going to have the biggest impact in baseball.
Yep.
I would pick a group and it'd be the outfielders. When you look at Caden Sorrell, who I talked to another pro scout this week, and this is not to take a shot at anybody else on the roster.
Mm-hmm.
It's more to highlight what kind of player they maybe have on their hands. I talked to a professional scout this week that said he had been watching some practices recently. He thinks Caden Sorrell's the best player on the team.
The best player on the team?
That's what he said.
Does he know that Jace Lavallette's
exactly.
on the team?
And Jace Lavalette, he was like, Jace Lavalette will probably
the top 3 pick,
be picked, in the top 3.
Yeah.
He'll set every record that Texas A&M's got offensively. He knows that Gavin Grahovic is
on the same path.
Kind of deal. And so you look at Sorrell taking over, and he's going to move from left to right field. Obviously, Jace, one of the greatest players in program history, even as it stands today. With another good season, he's going to go down as the greatest player in Texas A&M history, position player.
Yep.
And then you slide Gavin Cash into left field, who has hit almost 40 home runs over the last 2 seasons, and 2 years ago was first-team all-conference player, Big 12 Player of the Year at Texas Tech. That outfield group is really stout. And when you went into last season, we had a lot of conversations going about, is this the best outfield in Texas A&M history, when you had Jace Lavalette, Braden Montgomery, and actually Hayden Schott playing in left field.
Right.
This year, I can make an even stronger case that this year's outfield going into the season is better than last year's. And even with a guy like Braden Montgomery leaving, that's how good this team is. And I'm super excited about that group. Stay healthy, all that kind of stuff. But the sky's the limit for the outfield group. And the depth there, right? So it's young depth, but it's super talented. You look at, we saw Gavin Grahovic play left field last year. And there are no shortage of athletes on this team, especially within the young ranks, that could go out there and do it if they needed to. But you look at a kid like Terrence Kill Jr. Immensely, immensely talented. The fastest player they've got on the roster, who's probably going to enter the year as your 4th outfielder. If not him, it'll be Sam Erickson, another freshman, who can really, really hit. I know they're going to try to get. One thing I think you're going to see Mike Early do different than that's been done in the past is that he's going to look for opportunities to get guys like Sam Erickson and Nathan Tobin in the outfield, to get them at bats, to get Sawyer Farr at bats, to get Terrence Kill Jr. into games and get him a lot of at bats. TK is going to impact games late because of the way he runs bases. But I do think, like, in an ideal world, Mike Early's able to get him out there, get him a couple starts, maybe in the midweek, maybe run him out there for half a game on a weekend at sometimes, just to kind of get his – because these are players that, even with an immensely talented roster that you've got this year, those kids can help you win games.
Right.
But you got to kind of knock the stardust off of them. You know what I'm saying? Like, knock the saucers out of their eyes and kind of get them settled in and playing.
You've been to a few practices. Anything stand out about the way Coach Early runs the show?
Yeah, he delegates more so than.
Who's that?
Look at that.
Look at that.
Tweeting. I'm very glad that y'all got that and you didn't put it in the sights and sounds yesterday. Oh. Well, this is video of me working. I don't know why this is so hysterically funny.
I think you're watching
Did you hear Luke's howling like a hyena back there? They win one basketball game last night, and now he's sunshine and rainbows everywhere. When he walked in
Did you see how moody he was after
Monday,
the Texas game?
Like Eeyore, like
I was too,
rain cloud over his head everywhere he went. Guy flies too close to the sun, if you ask me.
Speaking of the sun,
what?
You're very tan apparently.
You said you didn't notice my tan.
I didn't, but apparently you're tan.
Good, thank you.
I think you're
rosy. I worked hard on it on the beach. Now you've completely derailed my train of thought.
Nick derailed your thought.
Nick's not been great today.
It was actually Kay Nagley.
It was Kay Nagley, he says.
I don't think Kay press play on anything he does on this radio show.
Yep.
I think Nick's
had a rough week. it's been a rough week.
Extreme ownership, huh, Nick?
Jocko Willick.
Extreme ownership. Yeah.
Fantastic book.
It's Kay's fault.
Have you read that book?
No, I've seen a lot of excerpts.
My good friend, Jocko.
Yes, it is your good friend.
And good.
What have I seen at practice?
No, just like the difference in the way they go about their business.
I think Coach Early delegates his practice a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say this, the team has been just killed by the flu this week.
I think the community has.
Yeah,
it's all over
they had a lot of guys out yesterday just with flu, dealing with flu. I know that Jace showed up to the facility. They sent Jace home because he'd gotten sick. So they're fighting through it. You'd rather it happen now. But yesterday, because Coach Longley was sick, so Coach Early had to go take, he'd worked with outfielders as an assistant, so he went and took the outfielders. But even still, like, he delegates his practices where you're watching Yesterday, we watched the infield and the pitchers all work together, and it was Jason Kelly was running the drill, running the entire drill, the pitching coach. And obviously, his experience as a head coach helps him there. And then you had Will Fox walking around to position groups and coaching them individually within that big drill, and you had Troy Claunch working with the catchers. So everything's been delegated, whereas in the past, you heard one voice when they would do stuff like that, and that was it. So I think Coach Early's confident in the guys that he's hired, and he's going to let them do their job. And he's kind of like overseeing, and obviously he's going to make decisions on the roster, game management, and then he obviously has a big hand in the hitting still.
Thank you, Bronny. Appreciate you, sir. All right, we'll hit a break. We'll come back with Luke with Pounding the Pebble. Right now, we're talking Heritage Films. That is a company that makes documentary films about families, family businesses, family ranches. So if you've got a cool story to tell, but you've never really thought about doing like a documentary, Chance McClain, Houston guy, by the way, who loves A&M, he can do a 2-hour documentary for you that'll feel like a Netflix documentary. He can do it on your father, your family business, your family ranch, your grandmother. Everybody's got a great story, and Chance is amazing at pulling that story together and putting it together for a 2-hour documentary that you're going to be very proud of, and it's something that can be shared with the next generation and the generation after that. The website for Heritage Films is yourheritagefilm.com, yourheritagefilm.com, 713-893-8341, 713-893-8341. And we're back here on TexAgs Live. As a reminder, the final segment of the show is coming up here in a little bit. That's at 10:50. Right now, caller number 12, 979-693-1150. We're going to hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave's. They've been serving Aggieland since 1984 with your favorite pizza and, of course, those world-famous pepperoni rolls, reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com and your favorites are on their way. Pounding the pebble, Luke Evangelist. Why do you laugh every time I say it?
Because it's every time I think you're just going to say pounding the rock. But
well, I will
think
when
you've
Tap
given
joins
up.
us. Tap, I texted with him this morning. He's just busy. He'll be with us soon.
I saw him actually last night at the game.
Yeah?
He was on the call, I think.
Okay. Well, he's a great guy. I love him. But I got to get your thoughts because did we talk Monday on the air? I'm trying to remember. It's been such a...
No.
Monday was a... Yeah.
Monday was... You were talking to someone else.
Yeah. Billy Lucci. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Talk to me about you, because I know how invested you are on this team, right? You put on your A&M hat, you put your analyst hat on, the emotions of this team that we have seen from Ole Miss to Texas to yesterday, a game that for some felt in doubt at times. I didn't feel it was ever in doubt. It was just harder than I wanted it to be.
Yeah, the emotions are definitely up and down, but then I remind myself that that's just life in the SEC. Like, this is the best basketball conference in the country. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some. And A&M is not immune to that. And so whether those losses come in just a normal game like Kentucky where they're losing the whole way, or in a game like Texas where you're leading the entire time and then have it stolen from you, you're going to take your losses. And I think if you look at the schedule through your first 8 games, 5 wins is about where A&M should be. But there's obviously potential. You look at, hey, if they just make their free throws, they're probably 7-1. But that's just not the case. You can't go back and take a win that you never had. So you look at other teams like Tennessee that are kind of stumbling and you say,
why not?
Why? That could very well be A&M. A&M could have lost to Ole Miss. They could have lost to Oklahoma the first time. I'm comfortable with 5 wins. And for all the up and downs, you have to be happy where A&M's at right now.
Well, look, part of the issue is who they lost to, how you lost, right?
Oh, 100%. In Austin, a place you haven't won in, like, literally one time since I was born. Once.
Why do you gotta say it like that?
Well, they've only won once in 37 years.
I remember that day.
Yeah, I know. It was 2002. I was 1 year old. And it's who you lost to.
I was 13.
And how you lost and what the national media was saying about that loss that made it this big deal. But when you look at the numbers, Texas's season was saved by that win, but A&M's season was not lost from that loss. To put it in perspective, A&M still has one of the 10 best resumes in the country. They're right there for a top 3 seed. It was heartbreaking, and to be in the building for it was a gut punch of all gut punches, but the season was not over from that loss.
Well, from last night's win, I liked what you said because I think it's exactly right in your 5 thoughts. That was peak buzzball.
Oh, yeah.
And what was it, 21?
21 offensive rebounds, 21 missed threes.
That is buzzball.
Yeah.
Except for the free throws. And by the way, they've had, was it 2 years ago that they were really good from the free throw line?
2 years ago, they were top 40 in the country. They made 75.9% of their free throws.
Last night, they hit 82.9% of their free throws. And this wasn't a game where they went to the line only 10, 12 times. They went 20 times in the first half, over 30 in the game.
Well, that's like also kind of my frustration is how is A&M going to the line 38 times and 48 times, and then other games they're going 7 or 9 times. Like that just, and it's not just me saying this, but and I'm not just complaining on Twitter about this, but there is a real officiating problem in the SEC. It's not fair to the level of talent in this league. A team like A&M should not have that big of a fluctuation in free throws. Their offense is predicated on getting to the line and drawing fouls, but it should never be that big of a disparity. Like Zurich Phelps and Wade Taylor aren't changing their game and how much contact they're seeking based on if they're playing Ole Miss in Texas or Oklahoma and Alabama. So A&M is fortunate to get to the line that many times, but it's really only a positive when A&M's making their free throws. Like when they get 48 attempts against Alabama and they're only making 28, it's like, why did we have to get this night of these officials calling the game super tight? Because Alabama's going to make their free throws and A&M won't. But this time, when A&M's making their free throws, like you got to be happy about the ref that you got.
100%. Let's talk about Zurich Phelps, not Phillips, a few times on the broadcast.
I don't get. It's like he's played 4 years of college basketball. How are national announcers mispronouncing his last name?
But Zurich Phelps, who was really good last night, he's been really good against Oklahoma.
Yeah.
He's been really good all season, but in SEC play, if you take out the Oklahoma games, there has been a dip in production. We have the stat up for you. So,
he's kind of like the reverse Bryson Goodine, but he's actually like a really good player still without those numbers.
So for the radio audience, against OU, he's averaging almost 25 points a game, 24.5. Against other SEC competition, 16.2. Field goal percentage, 38% to 38%, that's the same. This is where you see a big discrepancy, though. You have your three-point shooting against OU, 53.5. Against other competition in the SEC, 20.8. So that is a 23-point drop-off. And then free throws, also 87.5% against Oklahoma and just 61.5% against the rest of the SEC.
I love that we combined those two Oklahoma games when, like, this game he just had against Oklahoma is, like, dragging his shooting averages down. That just goes to show you...
Because he had, 16 last night?
Yeah, he had 15. But that just goes to show you still, like, what he did in Norman. The fact that him and Anthony Edwards, I'm going to mess up the stat here, but him and Anthony Edwards are the only two Division I players in the last 25 years to have 35 points, 5 threes, 5 rebounds, and like 3 steals, something like that against a ranked opponent on the road. The fact that he's in the same breath as one of the best stars in the NBA is remarkable. And even if you can just get 16 points per game from him in SEC play, that's like top 10 scorers in the SEC. Like, that is remarkable. A lot of players' productions are going down when they face SEC competition, but I know that dip is concerning, but I think that's more of a him rising his game to... A&M needed 34 to beat Oklahoma, but he's not playing poorly, scoring 16 in other games.
But one thing is when he plays a little bit more controlled, because his game is like Manny too, right? Their game is kind of predicated on chaos, right?
Yeah.
And yesterday I thought he was more against Texas. I don't know how controlled he was.
Yeah, I
agree
agree with that.
And yesterday it was like, look, he's going to attack the rim, and sometimes you're like, okay, there's 3 guys there. What are you doing? But he contorts his body in a way like Manny does to get the bucket.
Yeah.
The Texas game I just thought was a little bit out of rhythm. He was in rhythm last night.
100%. And the most important part was he was in rhythm at the free throw line. The thing with A&M players, it's very rare that you're going to get all 3 phases going on every single night.
Sure.
Anderson Garcia and Pharrell Payne were probably the 2 players that had offense, defense, rebounding, and free throws all in sync. You're not going to get that every single night with every A&M player. But like for Zurich, if he's going 3 for 12, that's a bad game for him.
Yeah.
But if he goes 8 for 10 at the line, you have to live with that, because if he's going to get fouled 10 times, history says he was only probably going to make like 6 in SEC play. So if he's going to have the ball that much and get fouled that much, you have to live with 80% of the line, even if you only got, 8 points from the field? 7 points from the field and 8 from the free throw line. Like, I'm okay with that.
Before we hit a break, I'll give you credit. You had it on your post-game chat last night on TexAgs.com. Wade Taylor, for him to get the record.
Yeah.
He's got to average, it was 15.6 points per game. I think something to that, which is totally a Wade Taylor thing to do. He can absolutely do that. We haven't seen that in SEC play.
Right.
Was it
4? He's
game?
averaging 11.2 in SEC play. And really, you've seen it one time this season, and A&M fans are like, when did we see it? Well, it's because it was the Rutgers game and everyone was tailgating for the Texas football game.
Yeah.
Everyone, Wade had 24 points, but that's his one 20-plus point game of the season.
Which is so unlike
Wade. He did
Wade.
that, I want to say 19 times last year. 14 times he had 20-plus, and 25-something times he had double digits.
Is that because they have more options and teams are making sure that they take the ball out of his hands? Oh, and also, he was injured, and I don't think he's come back feeling like himself just yet.
Yeah, it's definitely because they have a lot more options they can go to, and I think that's not necessarily a bad thing. Obviously, you would love to get Wade averaging 20 points a game like he did last year, but you don't need him to.
Is he going to get the record, though, before the regular season's over?
That's he's going to need to...
He's going to need to have a couple big games.
Yeah, and you thought he found his game against Texas hitting 5 threes, but the only shots he made were from 3, I'm pretty sure, and you would have loved to see him take more, especially down the stretch. I thought he should have taken more shots. But mathematically, it's saying it's going to take the postseason to do. You would love for him to get it at Reed Arena, against Auburn or something in the second to last game, but it's looking like it's going to happen in Nashville as of right now.
All right, well, let's hit a break here. We'll come back with more with Luke, and I want to talk about Pharrell.
Yeah.
I want to talk more Andy. I want to talk some Henry.
Because you're happy?
Because I am. I've made that joke a couple times on the show, and I'm like, I have become an old guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I was already an old guy,
Right.
but I feel it. Like now I can feel it.
You're making the OB jokes. It's
Yeah.
real.
Yeah, that's it's unfortunate, but you got to do what you got to do. When we come back here on TexAgs, more with Luke and talking some Aggie hoops. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Luke is still with us. Ag Engineering 12 says, I should grow a respectable mustache to show Luke how it's done.
I think you're lying. Richard sent that tweet in.
It says Ag Engineering 12 right here. I'm
All right.
looking at it.
Well, I apologize. My mustache has offended you.
Yeah. And what are you doing getting into beefs?
It was totally unintentional. I'm just going about my merry way covering Texas A&M basketball. And when I mention Texas A&M basketball, as our audience knows, that tends to summon a certain population on social media that has nothing to do with it.
Do you enjoy the smoke?
Look, if I had a burner account, I would enjoy it.
That means
even
he's
more.
got one. When somebody says, if I had a burner account,
I would enjoy it even more.
Why
if
is
I
it
got
Barstool? Is it Barstool? Tell the truth.
No.
Okay.
Are you kidding me? You were convinced I was still running that account, but
There was a
promise
week I'm like, that's tweeting very much like Luke.
No, I promise.
Because you
it's
probably
not.
trained the guy. That's why.
Yeah, that's probably why. No, I am taking a much more professional approach now, and I have to be mindful of my image, and my image is centered around
Aggie
stats
basketball?
and facts about A&M basketball. So when someone comes at me saying I'm a moron or I'm stupid, I just simply reply with statistics, and if they don't like it, that's on them.
See that I have tried this year and I think I've done a good job up until this week, to like not read what people say.
Yeah.
Right? This week, there might have been some topics that I've read, right?
Yeah,
there might have been a little bit about that. I'm not going to say the Aggies wouldn't have won last night without Anderson Garcia, but Anderson Garcia was a difference maker last night in helping them win.
Yeah, and that's kind of the first time this year you've really seen him take on that role that he played for like 3 months straight last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of that has to do with Pharrell Payne being inserted in the lineup. I know he's not eating up a ton of minutes.
And Solo's also taking a big step, too.
And Andy, like, as a player who was in such a great rhythm last year, it's hard to kind of get back into that when you're playing less frequently and more sporadically with new pieces.
Yep.
So I don't fault him for it taking this long to come about, but that was a performance you needed from him because he's so capable of it. You don't just become the SEC's like leading offensive rebounder on a fluke. And you saw it last night. Even without Solo, you needed somebody to step up. And for A&M to dominate the glass like they did, 47-19, they had more offensive rebounds than Oklahoma even had rebounds combined. Like that is a performance that I think I'm going to remember for a while when I talk about Anderson Garcia, 1 point away from a double-double. He had 12 rebounds. But the way he did it was so impressive. Like he misses a free throw, and okay, I'm just going to go get the offensive rebound and get A&M another possession. Okay, on that same possession, my teammate's going to miss a shot. I'm going to go get another possession.
Yep.
So that was late in the game. It was like a 4-point game, if I remember correctly. He had the chance to make it a 5-point game. He didn't. Okay, he's not going to complain about his mistake. He's going to go get A&M 45 additional seconds of clock and keep the ball out of OU's hands. And that
You're talking about the one where he sprinted across the court.
That was the difference.
That was my favorite play in the game.
Yeah.
They didn't score at all, but they ate clock, and it just showed that, all right, they're not going to lose this game. Like that play to me, how much time was left? 2 minutes, maybe?
Yeah, it was like 2 minutes left, 4-point game. Because mathematically, they're 1 or 2 stops or scores away from mathematically clinching the game. Anderson Garcia got them those 2 stops just by eating clock.
33 seconds left on the show. Pharrell Payne.
Perfect again.
I mean, more of him, right?
Yeah.
Like, he just makes winning plays, Luke.
Yeah, I will say the one improvement they need to do is they were getting him the ball out by the 3-point line too much. They got to get him inside more. That's why it was working against Texas and before. But he's perfect. 2 for 2 from the free throw line. You can't ask for much better than that.
Luke, great job as always, buddy.
Thanks.
Yeah, we'll fight the war with you too, all right?
Yeah.
Tomorrow on TexAgs Live, fan show. What else? Stephen McGee. I don't know. It'll be good, I promise. We'll see you tomorrow. Mañana. Bye.